All right, we're live.
Okay, and welcome to everyone to the 85th meeting of the 7th Council of the Municipality of South Dundas on this fairly nice April 26th evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order, first by roll call, please.
Mayor Byveld,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Gardner,
Present.
Councillor Wells,
Here.
Councillor Lewis,
Here.
Councillor Mellon,
Here.
CAO Garrity,
Here.
Deputy Clerk Robert,
Here.
Treasurer McMillan,
Here.
Director of Transportation,
Here.
Director of Environmental Services,
Here.
Director of Planning and Enforcement,
Here.
Director of Fire and Emergency Services,
Here.
Manager of Parks and Rec,
Here.
Planning Consultant Reed.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Confirmation of agenda. Any additions from the clerk this evening?
Yes, sir. We would like to add under the closed session, a request under the Municipal Freedom of Information, a request to discuss with council. And also the amendment will be items 9F and L will be moved to discussion items.
9F and L.
Yes.
Okay, they will be 9F will be E and 9L will be F. Or 10. Okay, any additions, deletions, or amendment from any members of council this evening? I will add to this evening, just want to get an update on the new garbage contract and the rollout and the communications thereof of that, because I understand it starts next week, and I'd like to make sure that council is aware of it and how it's going to be rolling out. So I will be adding that under 9G or 10G. If there's nothing else, then any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof this evening? Seeing none, the adoption minutes, please.
Oh, my computer's slow. Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Wells, that the minutes of the 82nd special and in-camera meetings and the 83rd regular and in-camera meetings of council be adopted as circulated.
Any questions or comments, issues? Seeing none, I'll hear the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. So tonight, under delegations, we have the honor of having the CAO of United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, Mr. Tim Simpson, and with him, the Director of Transportation for the United Counties, Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, Ben DeHaan, and they will present us with a county local municipal update in spring 2021. So gentlemen, welcome to South Dundas Council tonight.
Great, thank you, Mayor Byveld. Can everybody hear me okay?
We're good. I
Okay,
can.
Great, thanks very much. Ben is going to, when I ask him in a minute, he's going to share his screen. So we've just got some information to go through with members of South Dundas Council tonight. We know we have a heavy agenda tonight, so Ben and I worked very hard to pare it down to about 2 to 3 hours. So we shouldn't. I'm just kidding, of course. We're going to be very, very brief. We're just I'm going to provide an overview of some of the larger county initiatives, and Ben's going to hone in on the things that you really care about, and that's public works and roads and bridges work. So Ben, if you want to start sharing your screen, please. Next slide, please. And I will note that Ben actually brought this up to me a while ago, and I said, yeah, that's a great idea. We did kind of wayside with the pandemic, but it's been a few years since we've did a road show. We've gone to all local municipalities just to touch base and to provide information about what's happening at the county level. It's a good way to, and an informal way, just to keep everybody in the loop. And as I said, I'm going to cover some general stuff, some corporate stuff, and Ben's going to talk about roads and bridges and transportation and planning infrastructure. Ben? Just a couple of very quick slides on the budget. About a month ago, in the middle of March, county council approved the budget, and it had a modest tax decrease of about 0.75%, and that's based on the average, as you see there, the average residential assessment in 2021, which is a little over $220,000. One of the big components of our budget, not only this year but in the last couple of years, has been the council's commitment to fund the two manors that you see there, two long-term care homes that we have in the county, Dundas Manor and Maxville Manor. So those commitments to those facilities are now fully funded. So the money's in the bank and it's ready to roll. $6.5 million. So the money's there, and I do note that it was just several weeks ago that the Maxville Manor, which wasn't quite advanced as the Dundas Manor, got provincial approval in the funding to do their expansion. So I'm not sure with the pandemic and some of the other elements that are going on when those expansions are going to happen, but certainly we're ready to work with them when they are. So that's a good news story. But just quickly, the top three expenses in the county budget are transportation services at a little over 25 million. Policing at about 10.5 million is our second largest area of expenditure, and the third is health social services, which is about 10 million. Included in that envelope is the Eastern Ontario Health Unit funding, land ambulance, social services, housing services, childcare, and about $1 million commitment every year to another long-term care home, the Glenstordon Lodge. Ben? I include this because everybody asks. I'm just trying to preempt a wee bit. This is how the pie split up in our county between the six local municipality who pays what, and you'll see on the right side in that kind of orangey brown, South Dundas has stayed, it fluctuates year over year a little bit, depends on the growth from 2020 to 2021 at about 16.2%, and that's based on weighted assessment as part of the total weighted assessment across the county. Ben? And again, this is just for interest. This is the last slide on the budget. It's a graph that talks about where the revenue comes from and how that relates to assessment. The biggest thing to point out there is you'll see the orange is the assessment and the blue is the tax revenue. So for our residential taxpayers, they generate about 75% of all the tax revenue in the county, and they have about 57% of the assessment. Whereas the second largest is the farmland and managed forest. The assessment of those properties come in at about 32%, and the tax revenue derived from those properties is about 10%, and that's based on the maximum cap at 25%, which is in place here in SDNG and some other counties as well. So, Ben? Again, I'm going through this fairly quickly. We'll have some time at the end for questions, and then Ben will present his material, and then he'll have some time for some questions. Just a couple of quick bullets on the economic development and tourism and planning file. We've recently hired Tara Kirkpatrick as our new manager of economic development. She started about a month ago and is off to a very quick start. There's a lot happening in that file, and I know she works very closely with Rob in your office on regional and local planning. Sorry, not planning, economic development. And I'm pleased to say this isn't news. It's a couple weeks old, but Peter Young will be starting as our new director of planning on May 18th. So that's great. Peter's a local guy, and he works currently for the township of South Stormont. And Shannon and I and Craig Calder from North Stormont have been working with Ben over the last couple of years on a program to enhance the planning that the county provides, and we'll be working very closely with South Dundas after Peter starts to take on those files and to move things forward with that. So I'm very happy about that. I think that's going to be a great system that we put in place. And the regional incentives program, just a couple of bullets on that. The amendment process is ongoing. County Council last week approved the package of amendments. It's been forwarded to all the clerks. We're hoping to have an intake period scheduled for June 2021. It's contingent upon all the local municipalities, including South Dundas, passing the amendments. And just as a note of interest, $250,000 has been allocated in this year's budget for the regional incentives program. And since 2018, when the program started, there's been a little over $600,000 invested in local businesses. So it's a great program, and I know there's people in the business sector that are anxious to see that program roll out to access funds for their enhancements or building changes or whatever they want to do this year. So, Ben. Another slide on economic development and tourism. We had County Council in late last year approved a new strategic plan, which is the roadmap for the next 2 to 3 years. There's 6 priority areas, just very quickly. Continued advocacy in the areas of broadband and natural gas expansion, which are obviously, the pandemic has certainly highlighted the importance of good broadband access and cellular access. The enhancement of available digital tools, that's in particular social media, how we use it and how we get our message out and how we attract business. The regional incentives program, which I just spoke about. Regional investment growth, again, is very important. That's the investment attraction plan that we're working on and working with local municipalities with. We want to strengthen the county brand, which is where Ontario began, and make it more harmonious with some of the local or sub-regional brands that we have throughout SDNG. And another big one is to attract and invest in small businesses and producers. And one of the things we're doing there is working around better attraction of remote workers and things like that since the pandemic started. So those are the 6 priority areas that Tara and her staff and with your staff as well locally, are going to be working on over the next 2 to 3 years. Ben? Just a quick note on the library. The branches are closed because of the pandemic, so it's online and it's curbside and virtual services for now. But I do note that they are assisting local residents. Anyone who's having challenges registering for a COVID-19 vaccine appointment can work through our library for assistance. And this year is the 50th anniversary of the county library system. It started in 1971. There's many anniversary events planned throughout this year. Currently, they're virtual, but I think the hope is later this year sometime they can have some type of live events to mark the importance of the milestone of 50 years. So stay tuned on that one. Ben? IT, just very quickly, there's, and again, this is a service that the county provides to many local municipalities. Council authorized a couple staffing changes to support the operation. We've added an additional IT support tech. That's the frontline service person that helps you with everything from printer not working to frozen computer, anything like that. So we're working through that, as well as they've reclassified the business system analyst to the business system coordinator, and that's to create efficiencies within the service itself. And then we recently implemented the voice over IT project at the county administration building. It's working very well. It saves money and it eliminates a lot of the bell copper lines that we had coming into the building. So it's coming over the internet. It's working well, and I know Mike and his staff are working with our staff at the patrol garages to put that in place, as well as you'll note there, South Glengarry, they're implementing a VoIP system as well. So that's something that we've just recently implemented. Ben? The education review, this is an important file, and I know Deputy Mayor Gardner has been and continues to work very closely with me and the others on the working committee to make this happen. You'll note that in our 2019 strategic plan, and educating children in their own communities was identified as one of Council's 4 priorities. So we've engaged Horizon Educational Consultants there. She's based in Ottawa. She's currently working on the study. As you'll see, it's commenced. We hope to have a report done by the end of July this year, July 2021. So to bring it forward to County Council for approval at that time. And we're going to use that document to advocate for improvements for students within SDNG. So the main message there, that process is well underway, and we're looking for a very good product that we can bring forward and that we can use to help educate our own kids within our own communities as a real education strategy. So I believe, Ben, that is it for my information. Ben, I'm going to turn it over to Ben, but Mr. Mayor, I don't know if there's any questions. I can take them now or let Ben finish and go from there. It's up to you.
Okay, well, since Ben's taking the screen down, are there any comments, questions, or concerns from any member of council on CEO Simpson's presentation so far? No, seems like you answered everyone's question, so we'll move on to
Thank
to
you.
the star of the show with transportation.
Star of the show. I'll take it. I guess I'll take it. Sure. Thank you. And before I do start, I do want to I do have to say best wishes. I know Brenda coming close to the end. Thank you very much for all your help over the years. It's been wonderful working with you. This is probably the last time I have officially to say that. So I want to throw that out there before I keep going. So we're looking at work we're doing in South Dundas on the transportation, and I'll just touch very briefly on the planning side of things. But a couple big projects. Certainly one of the bigger ones we're looking at this year is fixing up some of the deficiencies we have on County Road 8 between the two 18s, the east and west 18s. So we've budgeted $600,000 to do that work, and we're looking forward to finally fixing that section of roadway. I know it's been an irritant, to say the least, for us and for residents of South Dundas. So we're looking forward to getting that resolved, and that design work is actually going to be underway. We're starting this week and have full anticipation we'll get it done this year. Sorry, I just need to click into my slideshow so I can advance. There we go. Another project you're probably familiar with, and I say that obviously facetiously because it's been wonderful working with your council and your staff on this project, and we really look forward to getting this project into a contractor's hands and under construction. The big one, and this is our biggest project this year by far, is the Morrisburg Roundabout and Streetscape project. Right now, just a very informal update for your council is the designer was expected to be done the design work at this point. They're still wrapping up a couple things, but we are anticipating something within the very, very near future. So within the next 5 business days that we can share with your council, because I know your council, through discussions with your mayor and CAO, there's a desire to have kind of one final look at it, which makes total sense, and we're happy to get that final feedback from your council before we do go out to tender. But as things are looking right now, of course, the challenge was with the price that came back in early in the year, and some of the costs associated with drainage, is that redesign and how to accommodate that. So we think we've got some good solutions, and from what we've seen on the preliminary and kind of design as it's progressed since we last spoke, I think everybody's going to be satisfied with what we end up with at the end of the day. We're not straying too far from the intent of the project, but we're finding ways to save money and I think get a good project for the community and council, both SDNG and South Dundas. Other big projects, we're doing some work on County Road 18 and Dundela, as well as Williamsburg. So we're spending about almost just shy of $300,000 to fix up some of those urban areas. What we do, particularly with this kind of work, is we do a lot of asphalt recycling, which is a technology and a process that we've really adopted in recent years. The reason being, it does save us money, and it is something that makes use of an existing resource. So we're quite satisfied, and we like this process. It's not new technology. It's technology that's existed in the marketplace for some time, but it is something we've adopted, and we've found so far in using this type of process, we've gotten really good results, and it's helping to maintain the life of our roadways. Brinston is another project we have budgeted this year. Our storm sewers out in that area and the drainage out in that area is something that needs some improvements. So our project this year will be to do some cured in place lining as much as we can of the storm sewers, as well as dropping in some additional catch basins and fixing up some of the grading and drainage through this area. So not a lot of, if I'm being perfectly honest, not a lot of surface paving work that's going to take place, but more on the underground subsurface work. And one of the big things is once you do that kind of work, it makes the future drainage or future pavement work on top much easier, and you don't have to come back and spend a bunch of time and money fixing that stuff up if it's in good shape after you leave it after a project like this. So that'll be something that takes place later in the summer, maybe early fall, but it is on the books to get done this year. We're also working on design work for bridges within South Dundas. Hosa Creek Bridge on County Road 18 and the Lakeshore Drive culvert replacement, which is a commitment we made with South Dundas when we transferred Lakeshore Drive to the municipality. So both of those projects, Lakeshore in particular, we've been saving money over the past couple of years. So we're almost I think this year, actually, we're now fully funded to do the replacement. The intent this year was really to do the design work and be prepared for replacement next year, and that's the plan going forward. Subject to, if something happens or if we find, we're still seeing it's holding itself very well, I guess then County Council has that opportunity to make a decision whether it wants to prioritize that project or not, but we'll be in good financial shape to do it. And similarly with this bridge, we've been going through a couple of different design iterations to see if we can save some money. And structurally underneath the bridge, it's actually in reasonably good shape. But when you look at a picture like this of the railing and you can see that deterioration, it's time that it needs a refresh. Other more general projects that I want to share with council. And I appreciate Danielle and all her hard work and her input with the regional waste management plan. That's a big project that we've been happy to help local municipalities on, and look forward to continuing to working with Danielle and the other municipalities to bring that forward on each municipality's behalf. We also are, of course, continuing to invest in different winter maintenance innovations. We do have an anti-icing unit, which we do use, and that's a program I'd like to see expanded as we move forward. It does take significant investment because you do have to dedicate a piece of equipment to it. We are also investing in AVLs this year, and I know at this council meeting, I believe your council is going to be approving South Dundas's switch over to a new system. We're doing the same, not necessarily. We're going back out to the market for our system, and a bunch of other municipalities are joining on with us for that joint tender. If we end up selecting the same provider that you're going with, I hope that, or we're expecting there'll be the opportunity to, collaborate in terms of information sharing or data sharing that maybe benefits us all if that's how it pans out. CCT program for storm sewers, we're in a big asset management phase right now and looking at the condition of our storm sewers and trying to get some life cycle costing for them. So we have a big program this year with storm sewers. We're repairing a bunch of bridges and culverts across SD&G and also investing in our two-way radio system, trying to put out a system that connects all of our equipment via two-way radios. Switching gears a little bit on the planning side, we are finishing the natural heritage study. That's almost done right now. Our official plan appeal continues on, and we appreciate your municipality's support and cooperation. Tim and Aaron and their input has been appreciated, and certainly it's been busy in that file, even though sometimes it doesn't seem like it. There's a lot of work that's happening behind the scenes to try and resolve many of the different appeals that are existing right there. This year we have budgeted for a growth and population study, so I expect once Peter starts with the county, that's one of the first things that he'll get working on is getting that study underway. And really that's looking at how we can identify and dedicate urban lands in a 20-year horizon. And right now with the changes in the PPS, it does have some flexibility there, and that's why we wanted to look at that right now, and just given this pace of development out across the county, it's a perfect time to actually take a closer look and a more detailed look at our urban land supply. We're also investing in LiDAR, which is light detection and ranging. I think South Dundas has invested in some areas on that, but we're putting money forward so that we can actually participate and help to fund getting the whole county done. Last but not least is the forestry side of our department, and it's although it's probably not spoken of enough, it's certainly an exciting portfolio that we manage. We have over 10,000 acres, or approximately 10,000 acres of forest that the county manages, and we're one of the largest landowners of this resource within SD&G. So in that portfolio, we're doing sustainable harvests. We continue to purchase and or look for charitable donations or eco gifts from people who are looking to move their land into the public trust, so we can act as that public trust. We do a lot of roadside tree planting. We spend this year we're spending $25,000 on roadside tree planting. We also have an investment in woodlot advisory service. So those that have private woodlots who are trying to get into that MIFTIP program, that managed forest program, and see a rebate on their taxes, we can help them get there, and we provide some money to get to that. And last but not least, the other part of that portfolio is the management of noxious weed complaints under the Weed Control Act. So that's something that keeps us busy. I noticed all the dandelions and thistles growing out there today when I took a little walk. So that'll be busy for the next little while. So with that, I think that's the end of my slideshow, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Just a quick question before I put it over to council. What's your anticipated timeline for the 818 construction?
I would be expecting that'll be late summer, that it'd be awarded and be under construction.
Okay. So I'll turn it over to council. Any comments, questions, concerns for any member of council? Go ahead, Councillor Wells.
Hi, Ben. Tim. I just want to thank you for coming out to show us all this. Like, I read the minutes, so I'm kind of up to date on everything that's going on. Really want to thank you, Ben, for County Road 18 and 8 there. That's I use it quite a bit. No, overall, I think you guys are doing a good job. So I just want to thank you.
Okay, Councillor Mellon, you have your hand up.
Oh, well, no, I didn't, Mayor Byvells,
Oh.
but I think I was just curious about the roundabout, but it'll be going out for tender soon then, after we have a look at it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We'd like to give you that opportunity to take a look at it, and I'm gonna maybe hope that could be done in a reasonably quick time frame. And I realize we're putting the pressure on you, and if we had it in our hands, you'd have it in your hands. Trust me, as soon as we get it, it's going into your hands. And we're leaning on our consultant to get the work done. But yeah, once we kind of get that thumbs up, we're going to be out to tender, and my expectation, Tim and I have talked about this. This is the type of project where you have a special meeting of council, get it awarded, and get it into the contractor's hands right away. So, one of the I don't want to call it a challenge, but one of the routines of county council is only meeting once a month. The stuff that we're awarding at our May meeting is already out to tender for us. So, we're already at our June meeting, middle to end of June, if we stay on that schedule. So, Tim and our clerk, Kimberly Castleman, and I have had a chat already about convening a special meeting of council once we do put this out to tender, so that we can award it quickly and then, see it getting started as soon as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you, and yeah, and thanks for the presentation, Ben and Tim, and I think there'll be a lot of appreciative people back around the Princeton area, maybe pick up some of those drainage issues they've been dealing with there, but thanks.
Okay, Councillor Lewis, anything?
Nope, I'd just like to say thanks to Tim and Ben for their presentation.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
No, I'm good. I say enough at county council.
Well, I don't know. I almost feel like this is a little bit of a test for us as county councilors, that we keep our council informed, and they didn't have a lot of questions. So obviously that we do our best to let them know what is going on at county council, but I do appreciate the highlight of what you brought to council today, and certainly we'll continue to work with both of you to get to work SCG, South Dundas working together. So if anything else, Mr. Simpson, before we, just hang on, Councillor Wells has something first.
Yeah, Ben, just one more question since Councillor Mellon brought up the roundabout. Before you bring it to us, all the businesses along the project, are they all like, I personally, I haven't heard too much, so I'm assuming everyone's happy, but I would just like to know, like, was there any concerns about any of the local businesses? Did they bring anything more forward? Because I know at the end, like, we're the ones that we're gonna look at it too and say, okay, everything looks good, but was there any concerns, like, from you, Ben, from any of the businesses, or vice versa?
Well, I'd be a liar if I said everybody was high-fiving us. But that being said, I think we have certainly tried to address as many concerns as we have. And if I'm being quite honest, I think what will be tendered will probably be what people approve of the most. It might not be perfect for everybody, but it's a real challenge to be perfect for everybody when you're in a constrained urban environment the way we are. And the general concern is it's the same whether it's Morseburg or up in Alexandria. It's access and how the project is impacting kind of what I had before versus what's going to happen in the future. But that being said, we're making everybody still has access. And we're doing our best to accommodate the concerns that were brought forward, and it was very limited. There was a very limited amount, and I know, I appreciate that. I'm sure all of you at one point or another were contacted by people, and our door always remains open to chat about those concerns. But yeah, we're doing our best to mitigate.
Okay. No, thanks, Ben. It's just like I said, I haven't heard anything, but I just like when it comes to us, it's just nice to know if you guys had a major concern. I know the businesses, if they do, they will come to us and voice their opinion very quickly. But no, it's all good. I like to get this project going, and I think it'll be good for us. Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, once again, thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation.
Yes, on behalf of Ben and I, Mayor Byveld and Council, thanks very much for giving us a half an hour of your time. We appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye now.
So we'll move on to action requests. First one is TS 2021-01 GPS purchase.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that council accept report TS 2021-01 to purchase AVL/GPS devices and wiring harnesses to be installed on municipal vehicles and equipment from Daikin Incorporated in the amount of $3,048.59 plus HST, and that council authorized the transfer of $3,102.25 from the service delivery reserve to finance the purchase.
Jeff, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So in front of you tonight is as a request to proceed with installing GPS units and the wiring harness in the remainder 21 vehicles which the municipality has currently. In 2018, the municipality installed GPS devices in our winter patrol equipment and has worked out very well through Geotab. Geotab has now transitioned to become a builder and not so much as the seller. So the municipality switched over their distributors to Daikin, who presently sells the Geotab product, which we already had on our vehicles. I'd be willing to answer any questions which you may have at this time.
Okay, thank you. Comments, question, concern, Deputy Mayor Gardner.
Thank you, Mayor Byveld. Quick question. Snowplows are one thing, but when you've got GPS on regular vehicles, I'm just wondering, does our personnel policy need to now be updated to deal with any potential issues arising from the information you'd get rather from a GPS system?
Shannon, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah,
you're correct, Deputy Mayor. We will be bringing back an amendment to our personnel policy to reflect that change.
Okay. I just, whenever I was looking through this, I think it's great. I think Jeff mentions in his report about it helping with transparency and accountability. I think it's fantastic. I've had GPS units installed on my various vehicles, but usually there has to be a policy in place regarding maximum speed, maximum this, maximum that, if you're going to be able to use the information you get. So thank you.
Okay. Councilor Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. No, I think it's very good. We had good discussion about this, like transparency, not wasting fuel time, and this. So, not saying anyone's doing it, but this way, if you know it's there, you'll keep track of, make sure you got all your tools before you go to a job and you're not making several trips. Just one more question, Jeff. I see, what's the total with the dump trucks? And I see the cost of $609 for the month for the extra 21 units. What's the cost on the 10 units for the total that we'll be paying this on a monthly base?
So presently, through you, Mr. Mayor, the units which we have right now are on the 10 dump trucks, our 1-ton truck, our sidewalk machine, and our patrol truck. That is what we call the winter package. It's part of the winter maintenance program through the GPS device, and we presently pay $583 a month for those units that we have. The additional 21 units, which you see in front of you, Councillor Wells, they will be at a rate of $29 per unit because they're strictly just a track and trace. It allows you to see where the vehicle is. It'll pinpoint speed, time, stops. It's more of the basic non-winter program. And that will be the 608, which I identified in my report. So those numbers, go ahead, sorry.
No, that's fine. Keep going. That's fine.
So the 583 will be added to the 609, and that will be captured in our GPS account, which we presently have under our GL, and then it'll be accounted for at the end of the year and budgeted for properly for 2022.
So that 583, now do we have that just for the winter months, like say November to April? Like there's probably some of the equipment or something, like all the dump trucks wouldn't be used, or is that a monthly thing based on 12 months?
No, it's presently it stays at 583. I can reduce it because we do now park trucks in the summertime, so I could reduce that down to strictly a track and trace with the basic $29, and I'll definitely follow up with DICAN on that one.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. We could save money that way. No, thank you, Jeff.
Councilor Lewis?
Jeff, you said 21 vehicles remaining. Does that include the recreation, the water, the sewer, all the vehicles that we have in the municipality of South Dundas?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So when I say 21 vehicles, Councillor Lewis, that is 2 backhoes, the rubber-tired excavator, the grader, and then the remaining vehicles, yes, as per environmental services, recreation, the water division, it's everything other than fire and emergency services. Everything will have a GPS track and trace system on it.
Okay, that's great. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't think Roads Department had 21 extra vehicles laying around. No, thank you very much for that answer. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Mellon?
I didn't have any questions until Ben was talking about something in his presentation about a joint tender. Is this what he was talking about, that they were looking at a system for they were going in with other municipalities on a joint tender system? Is that, I didn't quite get what he was saying. If they just wondered if that was the case.
So through you, Mr. Mayor. So with our WebTech, it originally was WebTech was our supplier. And then it became Geotab. So we initially owned the product. So when Geotab decided to become strictly a builder / service provider, they came to me and said that we're no longer offering the service. Please go and provide or find a third-party supplier, which ended up being DICAN. Because the counties is such a big player in the game, they kept them on as a company to support until 2022. So what's going to happen is I went ahead and found a third party supplier because we already own the product. What I was going to be afraid of was if we went joint tendering with them and another company came on board and made us buy all new equipment again, where we already own the equipment. I already like the service and I like the product which we have. That's why I found the third party, which is Daikin. All the counties is going to do is going to go out to the street saying we need X number of AVLs. Please offer us a price, type of thing. Where we could end up going down the road of buying more equipment versus what we already own.
Okay, I can see your point, I guess, Jeff. I just wondered if would there be any way for us to go along with the counties on the condition that the product that the counties agree upon is compatible with ours, and there's no, in case, I'm just thinking if there's savings to be had either on the monthly fee or on the initial purchase. But I'm not sure if that would be a doable thing, sort of an addition onto their tender on the condition that it's workable for us. I don't know if that's something that we maybe should have looked at. I'm not sure.
I don't know how to
That's
answer that.
for me, Mayor Wyvilles.
Okay, any further comment, Jeff?
I could definitely entertain going on with them. My only hesitation with that is that if we go through the tendering process and it comes back not our supplier, then that puts me a year behind the game, where we're using the service delivery funds to purchase the product right now.
Yeah, I guess my suggestion is you can at least have a chat with them when the time comes, and if it works for you, it works. If it doesn't, then you do have some justification on staying where you are, but it's always good to at least explore if there's a way of working together, that's for sure. Anything else from any members of council? All heard the motion. Those in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next one is ES 2021-21 Carmen Road Water Main Relining Class A estimate.
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Lewis, that council accept report ES 2021-10 to award engineering work for the Carmen Road Water Main relining for a total price of $13,873 plus HST to EVB Engineering.
Danielle, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. So good evening, Council. So this report is requesting that Council approve the municipality to approach EVB Engineering to do the engineering work associated with the Carmen Road reline. Council will recall that we brought this to you in March, where we were looking at the two options. Option one was for the 1,420 meters, and option two was the 560 meters reline. So this proposal that EVB has given the municipality will do a Class A construction estimate, which is a little bit more detailed, which will provide us with information on how to budget for the Carmen Road reline project in 2022. So as part of the Class A, they'll also be doing the work for looking at the cost difference between option one and option two, and then that report will come back to council before the fall so that we can decide how you want to proceed with budgeting for that project at that time. I can answer any questions anyone may have.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Gardner.
Thanks, Mayor Byvelds. Yeah, I don't really, we discussed this at the water budget as well. I don't have too many issues. I just, cautionary whenever you're putting in your report about a dramatic rate increase to cover the cost of the work in 2022. A lot of our public, if they read this, they are already under the impression that we've done a dramatic rate increase. So I just, with these projects, I just, when we communicate or whatever, maybe, just the communication piece around this is vitally important, that they understand what rate increases are for what. So that's my only comment.
Okay, Councilor Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. No, we had a good discussion on this. We know it has to be done. It's just staying with the same engineering firm because I feel it's in the best interest. They know the system now, and so to go out and find someone else, it probably end up costing us more. So, and to the deputy mayor say, like, communication, stay on top of that. Like for the engineering, it's not an issue, but when it comes down to the time when we actually have to do it and the increases and stuff that we already put in place or going to put in place, we just got to make sure the public's aware. Thank you.
Council Lewis?
No, I have no questions on this. We had a very lengthy discussion. Good report, Danielle. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Council Mellon?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so we all heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next report's PE 2021-01, Freedom Mobile County Road 41.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, second by Councillor Mellon, the council accept report PE 2021-01 to approve the proposed telecommunications tower by Freedom Mobile Incorporated on County Road 41.
Nicole, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So before you is a new Freedom Mobile telecommunications tower. It is just north of the 401 on County Road 41, also known as Upper Canada Road, I believe. So this application actually meets our previous telecommunications bylaw, and in discussion with our current updates to the telecommunications policy, I wanted to bring this forward to council for a review prior to issuing a recommendation letter for the company, and they take that to ISEDC, so Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, for their approval from the federal government. And I can answer any questions at this time.
Okay, if Mayor Gardner, start please.
Thanks, Mayor Bivalves. No, my big piece as I started reading this was the public consultation, and it looks like they've met those requirements, so I am good.
Council Wells?
Thank you, Mayor. No, everything's what I read, everything's in half their bylaw and everything's good. So I have no issues with it. Thank you.
Council Lewis?
No, I have no questions or issue with this.
Council Mellon?
Yeah. Nicole, in the report, will there be a building permit required from South Dundas?
No, so this the telecommunications towers don't fall under the Ontario Building Code because they're federal approved, so they're exempt.
The fee we're going to be getting for this tower
Is the prior
for the
fee?
application only.
That's correct. Yeah.
I'm awful leery. They'll probably just say we don't need to do. Oh, is it mandatory that they do this application with us? Because
Yeah, so they
I don't
have to
trust them as far as
consult.
I can throw them. But
Yeah, all of the communication applications to the federal government, they do have to submit review to the municipality where they want to install the towers, and they have to get something in writing from South Dundas stating that they're okay moving forward, and if they're not, what are the conditions that we need them to meet before they can move forward.
so that okay. Well, we'll get our 2,500 out of them, I guess, or whatever. Okay. I just don't like it when the feds come in. Anyway, I'm good, Mayor Byville.
Okay, one question, Nicole. When it comes to zoning, can they ignore our zoning bylaws too?
They can, yeah, our zoning bylaws don't apply.
Okay, maybe in your reference letter, could you, like, it's in an RU 22 zone, which is nearby a wetland. In theory, they were supposed to do environmental studies, so if you want to put a little catch in their ointment, you can put that in our recommendation letter that they should be doing an EA on that, and at least we've asked for it because we all know that if a residence or somebody wants to put a structure in an RU 22, they have to do an EA, and all of a sudden we're allowing this that not happen. So I think we should at least tell them that that should have been a requirement, and then we'll see if they want to do it or not. But as you say, we can't force them, but I think we should at least make sure they're aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely include that in the letter.
Okay, council understand that? Okay. Other than that, I don't have any issues with the tower. Anything else from any member of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you. Next report is ES 2021-09, the Matilda landfill land acquisition for the development of a contamination attenuation zone.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, second by Councillor Wells, that council accept report ES 2021-09 to approve option 2 as presented by staff to proceed with the development and acquisition of land to be registered as a continuation attenuation zone at the Matilda landfill, and that council approves the transfer of $935,437 from the landfill reserve to purchase the property. That's all I have.
Okay. There was one more there. It says that council
Oh,
approves.
sorry.
Yes.
There it is. I've got it here. Sorry. And that council approves the remaining $12,533 to fall to the capital budget's bottom line in 2021 as an unfunded capital expense.
That's it. Thank you. Danielle, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is based on a delineation study that staff had completed in 2020. The results identified that there were high levels of chloride in surrounding properties. High levels of chloride indicates that there is some leachate contamination, and that therefore changes the regulated B7 use guidelines. The objective of the B7 use guidelines is to implement sufficient levels of control to make sure we're not contaminating nearby properties and their well water. So with the development of a CAZ, which is a contamination attenuation zone, the municipality is acquiring that land because we contaminated it with the landfill. By acquiring the land, we're protecting the landowners from any further contamination. Sarah might be able to speak better to the budget implications. However, we feel that this is the appropriate amount of land for now that we need to acquire, and I can answer any questions that council may have at this time.
Okay, since you mentioned Treasurer Sarah, you have any comments, questions, concerns over the budget implications as presented?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. No, I think this is probably the best option for funding this expense at this time. As Council is aware, we're in a situation where we shouldn't be taking on any more debt. So what we would like to see in future budgets is contributing to the landfill reserve to build that back up.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Gardner, start.
Thanks, Mayor Byveld. I don't have any questions. We've had discussions about this. I think it's more of a comment to our residents that are watching that landfills, garbage, compost, all of it is extremely expensive. And it's not just about creating them and putting a hole in the ground, it's the aftercare. And these landfills have lifespans. It's not a case of once we close it, it's dead. The lifespan goes on for years and years and years. And I think that potentially when we talk about communication, I think this would be an area that we really need to start giving this information out to our residents so they are aware of the difficult decisions that any council and this council has had to make with not much choice. So that's my only comment, Mayor. Thank you.
Council Wiles.
Thank you, Mayor. So just so we've had council here, we've had lots of discussions on this. We all know what's going on. My question is for people that are watching, is this the first time we're just bringing this clamoring note to them now, or has there been other things that advised the public that what was going on, that we're spending this much money to fix a problem, Danielle? Meaning, like, is this the first time the public's been aware of what's going on? That's my question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the public has been made aware that Matilda has had a delineation report conducted. That was a part of public process. However, the discussion around the CAZ, it would have been discussed at the council table and in closed session. So I don't know if that answers your question, but this would be the first time the residents would be aware of what would be classified as a CAZ with regard to land.
No, fully understood, Danielle. It just, I just want to make sure we continue communicating with the public about this, and hopefully this is just another chapter in our council that it's going to be fixed and it's behind us. So, thank you, Danielle.
Council Lewis?
No, I have no questions or concerns on this. Everybody said that at the council table, we've had many talks on this, and you know, when you own a landfill, you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day. And I guess the end of the day is coming. We've got to do what we got to do. So, thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council Mellon?
No, I mean, this report is just something that has been going on for the last 30, 40 years, and it's just come to a head now. And it, you know, this is unfortunately, I guess it lands on our lap, and I want to commend this council for taking the bull by the horns, having, you know, dealing with this. And I think the public has to realize that, you know, this was a situation that we didn't want, or the landowners didn't want, that this is a situation that, you know, the ministry come in and said that, you know, this is the conditions that we have to have, and we have to own this land. And so, so it is what it is. And we've at least stepped up to the plate, I guess, if you will, and addressed it, and, you know, made the best of it. And, you know, the 240,000, you know, over the next 4 years will get that reserve built back up, because as Deputy Mayor Gardner said already, landfills are a very expensive and an ongoing thing. So there's always going to be expenses with landfills. And I think the public has to realize that it's almost it's a scary scenario, but to the five L's and my other members of council, I think we made the best of what we could on this situation, and we can put her to bed. Thank you.
I'm going to echo a lot of the comments that council has already mentioned. And full disclosure, council has had a very good discussion on having to purchase this land and the price that we are paying for it. So it was well thought through. It was challenging, we will say. However, we are in a situation where we in municipality of South Dundas have contaminated someone else's land, and it didn't happen overnight. This has started occurring when the dump was started by the old Matilda Township way back when. I believe it was in the early 70s. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but over time, the leachate that was generated, that landfill has contaminated other land that we now must purchase. It's just another chapter in the saga that this council and other councils have had to endure concerning garbage and landfills in South Dundas. As everyone knows, we've covered up the one in Williamsburg, and we have had to purchase land on that site also to deal with the leachate that's moving off its footprint. So we're hoping that this purchase will cover the vast majority of the issue that is underground. As Deputy Mayor Gardner alluded to, this is, I guess, not the beginning, but it's certainly not the end. Many, many years, even after we get this thing put to bed and capped, we have to monitor and make sure that the leachate plume doesn't go any further. So just another example that landfills cost money, garbage costs money. And I'm not here to preach, but I also want people to understand that Everything that is generated for waste in South Dundas has to go somewhere. Right now, all of it ends up going to the Matilda landfill. Staff are doing their best to make it work as best we can. And council is certainly fully aware and fully trying to do their best to fund all the issues that have been generated by this by these issues. So is it done yet? I know it's not done. We need to figure out, even if we get the expansion, what our long-term goal is with waste in South Dundas, and it may blend into the county plan someday, but for now, we will continue on. I just want to make sure that all residents are aware that landfills are very expensive. We have some real expensive ones here, and no matter what we do in the future, it will still cost us a lot of money. So please understand that we are still doing the best we can, make sure it works well. But as I said, again, a lot of money. Anything further for any members of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Move on to bylaws 2021-40 telecommunications tower policy update.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2021-40, being a bylaw to revise policy number 1-6, telecommunications towers, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Paul?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So staff have updated the telecommunications policy per March 29th Committee of the Whole discussion with Council. And the changes since that date are the fees have gone from $250 to $2,500. Previously, they were at $1,000, and Council wanted to increase those a little bit more. As well, we've added a condition that all telecommunication policy applications go to Council for final recommendation before the letters go out to the companies. If you have any questions, I can answer them at this time.
Okay, we've gone through this before. Any comments, questions, concerns for any member of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Moving on to 2021-41 part lot control, High Street and Lakeshore Drive.
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Mellon, that bylaw number 2021-41, being a bylaw to exempt lands legally described as lots 82, 88, and 89, block 29, plan 29 in the former village of Morrisburg from part lot control, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Aaron, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This bylaw for part lot control, again, is for the property legally described as lots 82, 88, 89, block 26, plan 29 in the former village of Morrisburg. This request is to reconfigure that site into 3 properties. The intention is for 2 of them to be developed for a single detached dwelling and 1 for a semi-detached dwelling. Pass it back to you. If you have any questions, I can answer them at this time.
Okay, thank you. So council knows is fully aware of where this land is. High and Lakeshore is where there was a vacant lot there for a number of years, if I remember right, and this is its redevelopment plan. So any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council on this? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Moving on to 2021-42 zoning bylaw number 2010-48 housekeeping amendment.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, second by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2021-42, being a bylaw to correct anomalies in zoning bylaw number 2010-48, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Aaron, again, please.
Thank you. So this is a housekeeping amendment to increase the height of the marine facility from 5 meters to 8 meters. This is a clerical error that's in the existing zoning bylaw, so this bylaw will rectify that. can answer any questions.
Okay, so the height that was there previous, 5 meters, was it insufficient, or why are we changing it?
I can speak to that if you want, Erin.
Yeah, so thanks, Nicole. Yeah.
Yeah, so in recent times, we've had some changes to the boathouses, and it was determined that the 5 meters wouldn't even meet the 1-story boathouses, so we wanted to make sure that there wasn't an error there, and we did find that there was an error. So the 8 meters is to accommodate the existing 1-story, and there are multiple 2 stories there now. So it was just a typo back in 2010 that we're just trying to clean up.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council on this? Deputy Mayor Gardner.
So just to clarify, it was a typo, but they were legally allowed to have the higher boathouse?
Yeah, so the new boathouse that's there, it meets the exact same height as the other 2-story. It's just the only thing that's changed on that one is there's a couple are on top. And that's not actually included in the height description under our planning definitions, I guess you would say. So
Yeah, but this is being brought to council as a housekeeping item, right? So legally, folks were allowed to do what they were doing. This is just clearing up the bylaw.
correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else from any member of council? So just to clarify, Nicole, this is not trying to, I guess, give permission more or less the new boathouse that's being erected currently?
No, it's for all boathouses altogether. So even if one of the other boathouses is in rough shape and then they want to put a 1-story on, they wouldn't have met that 5 meters. So we want to make sure that those existing boathouses can be replaced in the future if they need to be, under the proper conditions.
Okay. There's nothing else from council. All heard in motion. Councilor Wells, go ahead.
Hi, Nicole. So just to clarify things here. So the actual 8 meters, which the new boathouse is coming under. So no like weather vanes or cupolas or anything. That's over and above. It's just actually the top of the roof. And that's just there for more of a decorative thing, correct?
That's right, yeah. So the actual height is measured from grade to the midpoint of the roof truss. So where the top of the wall ends on the actual boathouse wall, and the peak, so in between those 2 measurements, that's where the actual height is measured. And that's for all buildings.
I knew that. I just don't want to kind of clarify it for
Yep.
whoever's watching. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Wells. Anything else? Councilor Mellon.
Yeah. This is to clarify nominally in our zoning bylaw. What is the zoning out there on those boathouses? Since it's basically OPG land, what kind of zoning is there where those boathouses are? What is it zoned as?
So right now it's actually zoned, so the land itself, so a portion of the boathouse is on open space. So it's basically considered a recreational type use, and the rest is on the water, right? So, so technically that portion of it doesn't need to comply with the zoning bylaw. Where the marine facilities come up for zoning is in the definition. So they're not actually defined under the site-specific zones. They're under the definitions themselves. So where it's defined as a marine facility or a boathouse, there's a minimum height, but there's no minimum size. They are restricted on what they can do with the buildings. You can't use it as a dwelling. there's not a lot of provisions included in there. We're just trying to clean up what is there.
Okay, yeah, you know. Yeah, it's all for now. Everybody else.
Well, I know, I would say the boathouse row has been there's been a few challenges this council and councils previous concerning buildings being erected, how they were erected, lines between buildings, et cetera, et cetera. It's all I can say. It's an interesting file. I don't think this council's here to justify the new building that is being put up, as long as it's done right and still meets the building code according to our chief building official. But other than that, we're not here to give permission to some of the antics that have evolved over the number of years. Not putting everybody in the same paintbrush, but there's a few there that have given us a few griefs. So, there's nothing else from council. All heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Thank you, Nicole. Next one is 2021-43, Acting Deputy Chief Williamsburg.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Wells, that bylaw number 2021-43 being a bylaw to amend Schedule A to bylaw number 2019-09, being a bylaw to appoint deputy fire chiefs to the South Dundas Fire and Emergency Services Department, be read and passed, signed and sealed in open council.
Chief Morehouse, welcome.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So this report is to fill the vacancies in the of Deputy Chief back in
Chief Morehouse, maybe you need to shut off your video and just talk, because you're just breaking up. We need to hear you. That's more important.
Okay, sorry, I'll start again. So this
Yes.
report is to fill the vacancy of a deputy chief at the Williamsburg station since the resignation of Brian Van Hoof back in November. Since that time, Deputy Hunter has become the lead instructor back there. He's built a rapport with the people and the members at that particular station. We feel it is time to appoint him as the acting. And someday maybe we can get somebody appointed that's from that station in the next few years. So I would answer any questions you would have at this time.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns for any member of council on this bylaw? Councilor Mellon.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Byvells. I think, Cameron, you sort of addressed this as far as, and, you know, it's good of Deputy Chief Hunter to step in, but I would like to see this, and I think should be stressed as sort of as a temporary fill-in, and I think it's important that we try to recruit or find somebody and bring them up in training or whatever they need from the Williamsburg station to fill that role. But for the time being, but your plan you've indicated is, I guess, to try and find somebody or bring somebody along from the Williamsburg station to step into that
Well,
position.
so just through you, Mr. Mayor, to answer your question, Councillor, so under the new mandate, it's not just as easy as putting somebody in there anymore. They must meet certain standards. So we would have to send somebody, get them trained, which we will work on, and get them educated to a point that they can fulfill the mandate under this job. Yes.
Okay, as long as that's in the back of everybody's mind. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Lewis.
Chief, I don't have a problem with Mr. Hunter being deputy chief back there, but how do the firefighters of Williamsburg feel on this situation? Were they asked, and what was their response, please, and thank you?
So no, we have not brought this to them as of yet. We just felt that in talking to Ray, we have talked to Gary Van Hoof, who's the senior captain back there, brought that to his attention. He felt that it would work. So that's where we are right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything further from any member of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you. 2021-44, the automatic aid agreement with the Township of South Stormont.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that bylaw number 2021-44 being a bylaw to revise and execute an automatic aid agreement with the Township of South Stormont for fire protection services be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Chief?
Again, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So we have 3 automatic aid agreements with out of South Dundas. This happens to be one. We have this one, we have North Dundas, and we have Edwardsburg Cardinal. And in there's a clause that if there's no problems, they're automatically renewed every year. We did discuss ice water rescue about a year and a half ago with Chief Grapeau from South Stormont. It's a rescue that we do not at this time provide within in-house. It is very expensive to train. It's expensive to get the equipment. They already have it. They're just down the road. It's kind of like our confined space agreement that we have with Team Industrial, where we contract it out to, if we have one of these rescues, we make a call, we get people en route to help us out right away. There's no delay. As far as I know, we haven't had it with the time I've been here. We've had no call. We've had one call that there was a dog out on the ice. The dog did come back. So it's just it's a service I think that we need to provide to the residents of South Dundas, and this is the best way that we can do it at this time. And I'll take any questions you may have.
Okay, we'll go around the table. Mayor Gardner, anything?
No, I don't have any questions. I like to see the water rescue in there. You know, especially for our residents that do live in Alt Island, you've got that water area that's connected to the bike paths and stuff, and obviously our front. But yeah, I don't have any issues with this.
Just to clarify, Deputy Mayor Gardner, this is ice rescue. It's not water rescue, correct,
Sorry,
Chief?
ice rescue. Yep.
Okay. Councilor Wells?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I have no comments or questions.
Councilor Lewis?
No questions. Thanks.
Councilor Mellon?
There's no standby fee in this, as I understand, Chief. Is that right? There's just the MTO rates when they're called out?
That is correct, Councillor. Just the MTO rate. It's a pay as you use, a pay as you go.
Okay, I don't have any issues with the agreement. The only thing I would suggest to you, Chief, is that the addition of Nuttlebush Road east of the 401, when the construction happens, whatever year that does, and that's the removal, replacement of the overpass. That's part of this agreement, but maybe an analysis in the future may dictate that becomes a little bit more than just an agreement. Because I think there's some major structures on that piece of road, and I'm not sure who's going to win the race to get there. But even if so the Morrisburg station had to go to, let's say, the Hardhaven Farms, I'm not sure. I think Ingleside might win that race. So just keeping that in mind on those kind of situations too.
Yeah, so that's why we added that to this particular agreement as one of the appendixes. When the highway does come down, we will have no access from Noodlebush Road coming across. So we want to make sure our residents get the best service we possibly can in case of a fire or rescue, and we'll be there to back up the Ingleside station.
Okay. Anything else from any members of council? Seeing none, all heard in motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Moving on, 2021-45, Superior Group Parks and Recreation Grass Cutting and Trimming Contract Execution.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Mellon, that bylaw number 2021-45 being a bylaw to execute an agreement with Superior Group for grass cutting and trimming in the Parks and Recreation Department for the 2021 and 2022 grass cutting seasons be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Austin, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At the last council meeting, council awarded the 2021-2022 Parks and Recreation grass cutting and trimming contract to Superior Group. Upon council's request, staff did obtain an equipment list from the contractor, as well as updated the contract to state that the contractor agrees to submit an equipment list, maintain and deem presentable all equipment used to carry out the work outlined in ES 21-01. And if council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns for any members of council on this contract? Council Mellon.
Sorry, Mayor Byvelds, I think at the last meeting, Councilor Lewis had asked about the equipment, and I'm glad to see the list of the equipment in there, but did you actually go out and look at the equipment?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I have seen the equipment. However, I didn't inspect it, as I'm not a mechanic, so I don't want to say I thoroughly inspected the equipment. Like I said, I have seen the equipment, and as I noted at the last council meeting, I did call all the references, which included the City of Ottawa, City of Cornwall, and Township of North Stormont. I did specifically ask about the equipment, and not one reference had any issues to speak of about the Superior Group, and they all said that their equipment was always presentable and professional.
Okay, that's good. I just wanted to know if you had actually seen it, but that's good. I don't expect you to give it a once over and a tune-up, but that's good. Thank you, Austin.
Okay, anything else from any member of council? Seeing none, all heard in motion, those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. 2021-46 site plan control bylaw.
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that bylaw number 2021-46, being a bylaw to designate the municipality of South Dundas as a site plan control area, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Aaron?
Thank you. In front of you have the site plan control bylaw, which will repeal and replace the existing site plan control bylaws for the Village of Iroquois and Morrisburg. The site plan control bylaw does apply to the entire municipality of South Dundas. It was presented at the Committee of the Whole meeting, which occurred at the end of March. This bylaw is reflective of the direction and suggestions provided by staff and council at that meeting. So I'll just highlight those key changes, which was adding on-farm diversified uses as being subject to site plan control. So this, in a sense, is the more commercial aspects to an agricultural property, agricultural use. It also requires that unlicensed communications facilities, telecommunications towers, be subject to site plan control. That pre-consultation be mandatory. It also added the sorry, I lost my spot here. The site plan securities, as well as the release of the securities to the bylaws, so that we do have it in here. I believe those are the key changes, so I can answer any questions at this time.
Okay. Any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council on this? This is new, but important. Seeing none, all heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Aaron. Consent agenda, please.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that all items listed under general consent section of the agenda be adopted as presented, save and except for 9F and 9L be moved to discussion items.
So this evening in consent agenda, we actually have a dated letter concerning the enhanced enforcement new order on the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act. Report from the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation. Notice of a decision on the local planning appeal tribunal from the county OP appeal. We have a letter from the Ag, Food and Rural Affair appeal. We also have a letter from Bell Canada concerning our support for universal broadband. F is coming forward. Petitions from City of Cambridge, Township of Spring Water, Dundas County Archives Committee minutes from April 1st are within them. Iroquois Waterfront Committee minutes from April 15th. Community Food Share request permission to do the lift at their Morrisburg site, which is a welcome addition for them. We also have a key information report on a drainage update. All heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Well, moving on to boards, committees, and discussion items. No county council, cemetery board, if any. Okay, and no Iroquois District Business Group, no Morrisburg BIA.
No, but Shannon and I are setting up a meeting with them.
Okay, South Nation Conservation Authority. Council Mellon.
Yes, yeah, there was one, a meeting April 15th. It's not, a lot to report, Mayor Byvells. The tree giveaway, day is, it's already be circulated out. That natural heritage study, that, Ben and Tim had mentioned in their presentation, I think that report is supposed to go to the, counties, the end of the month. They're working with the counties and the new SD&G planner. There was a discussion paper on about the Conservation Authority Act and the changes, and that was given to us, and Andrew gave it an update, an overview of the amendments to the Conservation Act and the steps South Nation has taken, the next steps they want to take. They're trying to be, I guess, if you will, proactive and meeting with and different partners, the municipal partners in the cities, and trying to come to some kind of understanding on any agreements or outside the core mandate. So they're going to have to be working on that over the next year, I guess, and try and bring that, get that updated. So the next South Nation meeting, I think, is yes, it's May 20th is the next South Nation meeting. I don't think there's anything else much, Mayor Byville, I can add to that. So any questions, I try and answer them.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns to Council Mellon? I do have one, Council Mellon. The document you describe as looking at the changes of the Conservation Authority Act, is that a public document?
Well, I think they were just commenting on what the government is proposing so far. It's not a public document, I guess, what the South Nation is working on that. So I guess from the South Nation perspective, I'd have to say no, Mayor Byvells. I don't think, because they haven't really got a document. They've been more commenting on what the province is requiring and what the working group is trying to come up with as far as addressing that and working with that. So that's not much of an answer to you, but I don't believe it is a public document yet, but I have been wrong before and I could be wrong in this one.
Okay, well, you almost qualified as a politician until you said you could be wrong, but was it part of your agenda, yes or no? Was there a document?
No,
or was it
not
just
yet.
a general discussion by staff?
Yeah, just a general discussion and an update from Angela, and yeah, so yeah, there was nothing in there as far as a document in the agenda.
Okay, I guess if they ever have one, I'd look forward to seeing that and seeing what kind of relationship they would like to press forward when the time is appropriate. Okay, Morrisburg Waterfront Committee. Iroquois Waterfront Committee, their minutes are within the consent agenda. The highlight, I would say, is that it's continuing to work on the historic signs along the path. Along with that, they're also looking at benches, and there was an extremely thorough discussion on benches during that meeting. Some of the committee members are going to bring forward those results. I'm not sure how they work with benches within our municipality, so we'll see how that goes forward. And Austin continues to work well with them on issues of concerns that they have brought forward. Any comments, questions? Okay. Moving on, South Branch Committee Fund. Councilman Mellon, anything?
Sorry, I was looking at, no, there isn't. We haven't had a meeting forever. It's been a year.
Okay. I assume no Carmen House? No.
No.
And just to bring council up to speed, if they're not already, Murray Richer has been the chair of the Carmen House for a lot of years, as long as I've been on council. And his wife Carol passed away a couple weeks ago, and we certainly extend our sympathies to him and his family. Dundas County Archives, I did talk about in the last meeting. Their minutes are within the consent agenda. If there's no comments or questions or concerns concerning it, then we're good. Tourism Advisory Committee.
No, we canceled it. There's some work being done, but not as a committee.
Okay, Economic Development.
Tomorrow night at 6.
Doctor Advisory.
Next week, date to be finalized.
Okay. So B is a waterfront beaches discussion, and I brought this up to the attention of our CAO. Council recalls last year we had a discussion on the possibilities of charging fees to use our beaches. At that time, council was in the consensus that we should at least look at and entertain that. At that time, Deputy Mayor Gardner wasn't part of that meeting, so I wanted to bring it forward, make sure that it was brought forward again for council to make a decision one way or the other on it. I'm not saying that they were wrong last year, but we haven't got anything done yet. And as much as we have no idea if the beach is going to be open, closed, or whatever, we need to be at least semi-prepared on what path forward council wishes to continue on with this. So I'll turn it over to CAO Shannon and Austin, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll hand it over to Austin. What we're looking for tonight is we want to bring back a report to council at our next meeting on May 10th, but just want to get an idea from council on kind of your thoughts, your directions, what you'd like to see in the report, whether we need to do some costing for some other initiatives. So that's our hope for tonight's discussion, and Austin has done a little bit of research, so I'll turn it over to Austin and let him provide some comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I have reached out to the City of Ottawa, the St. Lawrence Parks Commission, as well as South Stormont to discuss their beach operations and how they handled the overcrowding last beach season. The City of Ottawa currently has 4 beaches. 2 of them have paid parking and 2 of them have free parking. Obviously, all their parking is enforced by bylaw. They do also have staff to work the parking booths. The Parks Commission, they informed me that their beaches weren't open last year due to the overcrowding, and same with South Stormont. Sorry, they closed their beach last year due to overcrowding. The Parks Commission, they operate their beaches and they have parking fees for everywhere. They have different fee schedules as far as a daily fee or for weekdays, or they have a car fee, so everyone in the same vehicle would pay one fee. The manager of operations at the Parks Commission did advise that it is tough to keep an eye on overcrowding without having the parking fees and the parking gates and staff at a kiosk or so on. He did also mention that the last parking gate they purchased was roughly $59,000, and he said they just continue to go up in price. So like Shannon said, staff are looking for further direction tonight in which way council would like to go.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Gardner.
Thanks. I'm not a fan of this only because as someone who's worked at the beaches with the St. Lawrence Parks Commission, geographically or the landscape of both our beaches, maybe Iroquois would be something to investigate first. Morseburg would be much more difficult because there's not a restricted driveway access, which Iroquois does have. So it'd be interesting to see what the numbers would be on a return on investment. I think you would probably have to pay sell a ton of passes to overcome the expense of a gate, whether it's an automatic gate or not, or a ton of students to look over that. I mean, you know, at the parks, I can only speak to my experience the summers that I was there. We were constantly chasing people in and out. You really have to have it bordered off, so the gate is the only entrance access point. And you do have to enforce it, or what's the point? And then it's coming at the right number. I can tell you that there were plenty of folks that were not overly thrilled with the price per person to use the beach. So, you know, there's checks and balances. I know that our some of our community, because of COVID, wanted us to charge astronomical prices, and I would, in my mind, I'm cautious with that because I don't think that would benefit anyone long term, because once COVID's gone, then you have all this equipment and potentially not a lot of people visiting the beach to pay for it. Also have to look at properties that border South Dundas and what their beaches are being how they're being operated. So while the day use areas in the Long Sault Parkway have a fee and a gate at the beginning of the entrances, like Woodlands and Mill Rush, I will tell you there's a lot of staff energy that goes into chasing everyone on the rest of the parkway that has driveways and places where people can park and hide and stuff like that. And if Cardinal's not charging or Long Sault's not charging, because Long Sault's beach area is not at Lakeview Heights is not charged, it can be tricky. Now, I've heard that they're going to open their beaches this year, so I don't know, did you get confirmation from Brent on that, Austin, about whether or not their plan is to have things open?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the Parks Commission is planning on having all of their beaches open with a capacity limit, and South Stormont was actually taking a report to council this week to discuss their beaches as well.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the other trick, is what other beaches are going to be open in this. You could do a cost. I mean, if if the manager is saying that it's 59,000, I would believe that in a heartbeat. It's probably going to be more. That's a pretty high return on investment for only potentially a 3-month or 2-month even, depending on whether or not you decide to manage this high season or low season. So you know, on a regular year when school is out, there's not a lot of visitors to the beach during the week. So then what do? You leave the gate open, but only charge on the weekends. It can be a slippery slope. And I'd like to see another year where we see how the traffic goes, in my mind. And Iroquois, if we did charge, Iroquois would probably be the one that you would start looking at, only because of that driveway. You can control it a little bit better. Those are just my general thoughts.
Council Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I made it very, very clear last year that I was definitely in favor of charging non-residents to use our facilities. And by saying that, now this pandemic's still on, and I don't know if it's a good year to implement it this year, but I'm still in favor of, we maintain it and all that, and someone that's a user, you gotta pay. And I know Deputy Mayor said about the others, our Morrisburg is, we could put, you open the beach at 8 o'clock and you close it at 8 o'clock or whatever. We have students all that we hire. We don't need a $59,000 gate for someone there. You just put a booth in, put some good students in there, and you can only put maybe, I don't know, 40 vehicles in Morrisburg. Iroquois, same, like you got a road, it's easy. We only have the 2 beaches, so it's easy to collect money. I hopefully this year is not like it was last year. Like staff last year, we got everything under control very quick with the rocks and that. Danielle and that, and staff had everything set up, which was good. But I'm still in favor. We have to send staff out. We got to mow our beaches. We got to clean garbage. We got to. It's just it's business, and like I'm a business person. So is it going to stop people from coming to this community? No, not one bit. I don't believe. What I see is coming here for traffic. They're not here putting money into our community anyways. They're just here to use our facilities free of charge, and that's mainly why they're here. And myself, I'm a firm believer. We have the waterfront. We should charge for it.
Councilor Lewis?
I'm on the same wavelength as Councillor Wells. I believe all residents of South Dundas should they have to report to the municipality, get a free pass for the season for our beaches. And I think if you're a non-resident, if you want to use our facilities, well, you should pay for it. I know last year, Morrisburg and Iroquois beaches on weekends, it was like a madhouse. And we put the stones up, but even still, the beaches were fairly busy. Even when it was closed down, people were sneaking in. The bylaw officer had to go and run them out. And as Councillor Wall said, it is a business. If you want to use our facilities, I think you should pay for it. And residents of South Dundas, they should get a free pass for their beaches so they can enjoy their beaches. And that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Councilor Mallon?
Yeah. I don't think we can justify a $60,000 gate. That'll be, people will walk around, they'll park somewhere, especially in Morrisburg. How to put students on a gate, I'm just, there could be a lot of use out there hurled towards students. I don't think it'd be fair to put a student out there to try and deal with other residents, people from outside South Dundas. As far as residents of South Dundas getting the free pass, I guess, if you will, to use the beach, I have no problem with that. And I have no problem really with charging somebody if things are like last year. Residents from outside of South Dundas use our beach, but it's just how do you control it and police it? I don't have an answer for that one because I don't know. You're going to get somebody who's going to drive, a half an hour, 45 minutes to get here, and they're going to say, well, you're only going to charge you what X number of dollars to get in. And somebody from South Dundas that has a free pass, they come down and, there's a whole bunch of people there from outside South Dundas already paid to get in, and they're going to be mad. And then the people that have drove there, they're going to be mad. And they're, it causes, I just don't feel comfortable putting a summer student, if you will, in that, in the line of fire, I guess, if you will, on trying to control and police that, especially if it's under control like it was last year. So, personally, I shut the darn thing down if it gets to that point again last year. But that's not a very proactive way to do it, but I'm just not sure how you can distinguish between, and control and police between South Dundas residents that rightfully so should be able to enjoy their beaches, but, you know, and then try and deal with residents from outside South Dundas. I don't really have much of an answer. There wasn't.
No, Council Mellon, I think you're sitting on the fence, so I think staff's looking for direction, and right now we have two counselors that say we want to look at charging, and staff will look at how would deal with it. So you kind of didn't give anybody an answer, sorry. You know it.
I know. I don't have a problem with charging residents from outside South Dundas to use the beach. I don't really see the problem with that. I'm just at a loss as to how it can be implemented, I guess, if you will. But I have no problem with, you know, and, you know, if they want to give us a free pass to a resident, you know, that uses the beach from South Dundas, I have no problem with that. But, and I have no problem with charging residents from outside South Dundas. How you're going to do it will probably dictate whether or not we do.
Okay, so it looks like the majority of council is leaning to at least entertaining the thoughts of charging non-residents and allowing residents a pass of some sort. I will at least tell council my comments. I don't think I'm going to change the three minds, but I'm on this council long enough to know that we've always struggled to get people to come to South Dundas. As mayor, you want to be out there and you want to be inviting and you want to make sure, and I'm not saying it's not your role, but it's certainly one of the top roles as a mayor that, you know, you can be inviting to people to come to your municipality to enjoy what you have and hopefully spend some dollars and perhaps think about moving down here and checking us out. And we have Dutch Meadows coming, so it's, you know, as much as they're having some preliminary success, they have a long way to go before it's all full. And I'm still in the camp that I want people here. Yes, last year was a challenge. It was a lot of people that came down to South Dundas. Now, COVID was in a different era last year, and the numbers are way down throughout the province, throughout Canada. However, and let's be honest, nobody brought it down to South Dundas. Our numbers stayed zero right till December, which was good of us, but it also showed that it didn't come and everybody was concerned about it. I will say that this year might be a different kind of virus hanging around, and we certainly have a higher viral load out there, and to have people coming from other areas of the province to come and enjoy our waterfront or our tours attractions might be a challenge. But if we ever get beyond that and everybody else is open, we're all going to be sitting here wondering, how do we get people to come down to our beaches again? Because they weren't there before. And we had one lucky year to say, well, let's, there was an opportunity. We could have charged them. You're right. But you got to be smart in this game as municipal leaders and wanting to have people here. Sometimes you have lost leaders, and the lost leaders is come down to the beach. By the way, you can go to the Playhouse, you can go to the Mac Inn and have a meal. You can, if you really like us, we'll have some new housing to sell. Possibly it sparks somebody and sees an empty business, and maybe I can move down here and make a dollar or two. So the last thing I want is to have these people have a sour taste in their mouth, say, well, we had to charge them $10 to get in. And, there's lots of families in South Dundas that they bring their non-residential families down here to enjoy our waterfront. So I'll just pick on myself, you know, if whenever my son and daughter-in-law come down with what I call my girls or nanny's girls, and we want to play in the play structure, or we want to go to the beach, I guess they're going to have to charge them, and I can get in for nothing. Like it's challenging. I think we can probably make it work. I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not going to spend $60,000 on a gate. Don't ever get me wrong on that. We'll figure something out that makes it work. But I'm still in the opinion that this is a road that I really don't want to hoe. And I'm, you know, and fair enough, you know, I can understand the points of view for everybody else, but I'm going to be a little cautious on how you want to approach this. So we will go around the table again, and then once we're done, we'll just firm up direction for staff. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Byvelds. I agree with you. As somebody who's patrolled beaches, managed staff that patrolled beaches, the only way I would ever agree to charging is if we are going to put, we actually make enough money to make our beaches better or contribute to our waterfront. And I can tell you that there's folks in our area that, you know, I felt awful reading some of the comments on social media last summer about visitors to our community. I actually did take the time and go talk to the visitors, and I disagree with Councillor Wells in the sense that folks will say, oh, they bring everything with them, they don't go to the store. And I think Donnie or the Value Mart people, whenever I went to Value Mart last summer, I was behind tourists all the time, in and out. I did speak to folks that were using our splash pad. So do we charge for people to use our splash pad that are from Ottawa? It's kind of a never-ending thing. And whenever I go to Westport or Picton or whatever the case may be, if there was a sign that said, you know, outsiders not welcome, or I don't want to be a part of this, I can tell you right now that the organizations that are in the business, actually in the beach business, they spend a ton of time. And those poor students at our gate, if we did put a gate out, they will be harassed about where are the picnic tables. I paid to get into this beach. What do you mean you only have 3 picnic tables on the beach? What do you mean you don't have shade? What do you mean there's goose, whatever that is there? Clean it up. I'm telling you, I've spent summers in very hot uniform dealing with beach issues, and I can see why people are doing this, the thought process, thinking it's an easy fix. And I will tell you right now, it's not an easy fix. And the potential to do damage to welcoming folks in. I had spoke to people last year at the splash pad. They were from Ottawa, and they had never been to South Dundas, and they were looking for they wanted to get out of the city, and they were looking, and they were just like, oh, this is great, and blah, blah, blah. So I think that if we do have visitors this summer, I'd like folks to actually speak with them if we're able to safely, and actually find out the deal. And I would caution, the beach business is quite an interesting one, and Austin better be given a budget for at least 50 more picnic tables, because you're going to be asked for them if you're charging at the gate.
Hey, Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. I take your comments there, but at the end of the day, I was down the beach too, Deputy Mayor, and there's still there's people down there that's not respecting us, what we got. I can see Mayor Byville's and both your, I can see some of it, but at the end of the day, I'm still for the beach part charged. And I honestly, if someone's going to move down here, it's not, they're moving down for our facilities, don't get me wrong. But the people that are coming here, I'm telling you, like, you're not going to change my mind on this. What we seen last year was chaos. As far as my direction as a staff is to figure out how we can do the beaches. As far as student, you get an older student, 18 years old, sure, everyone's gonna get, whether it's a student or adult, they're gonna get, it doesn't matter where you go. My trip there last year when I was down all through the States, every park I went to, I had to pay to get in. It's just a common practice. I've been out west, all out through Banff and all that. There, the federal ones you get in, but you go to the Banff and that, there's parts you got to pay to get into them. So I'm still in favor. Another thing you say about charging that, you get people coming in, well, they're paying customers and all that. Well, then you got our community. And I don't know how many times I heard last year that our resident says, well, we can't even go down there because there's so many people from not around here. Like we can't even own our own facility or use our own facility, beaches, that we pay taxes. I don't have an answer. Well, their question, like, charge them, which I agree with them. So at the end of the day, I'm sticking to like our beaches. As far as every other thing, like a general picnic in the park, that's sure, go and have your picnic in the park. But if you want to use our beaches and stuff, it's a different story. Thank you.
Councilor Lewis.
I still agree with my colleague, Councillor Wells. Last year, I'm sorry to say, but if my cell phone wasn't ringing, the house phone was ringing. It was the weekends was just constant phone call after phone call after phone call from our residents, complaining about they couldn't go to our beaches where they live, and be pushed out because of overcrowded areas. So I will not change my mind on that. I still think that we should be charging, and our own residents gets a free pass. But I'd like to see what staff brings back to us first. And I'm definitely not spending $60,000 on a gate neither. So I'm sticking to where I was before. Thank you.
Councilor Mellon.
Yeah. What happened down there last year, and then of course with, we had to put the stones in, the rocks in to control the crowds and whatnot. My biggest problem is the residents, as Councillor Wells has already said, if we get into a situation where there's restrictions on the amount of people because of COVID that can utilize our beach, only our beach, that can trickle over to our park area or our splash pad or whatever. But if you're looking at just the beach, if there's a restriction on how many people can actually be in on the beach area because of the COVID, personally, I'd much sooner have the South Dundas residents that have paid the taxes for quite a few years that have put that beach there, be able to utilize the beach, than them showing up at 8:15, the beach open at 8 o'clock, and you've got it full of, residents from outside. They've come swarming in. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. But a lot of this will depend on what restrictions we are going to be looking at through the summer. And whether, if there's going to be restrictions on numbers, then yes, I think it should be, there should be a charge for outside residents. If there's not going to be restrictions on the COVID, the whole pandemic thing, if it sort of eases off, then I can see not charging, yes. But personally, I'd much sooner have the residents of South Dundas be able to utilize the beach in Iroquois and Morrisburg because they paid the taxes to utilize it and get it there and, build it up before, yeah, it's a little bit of a slap in the face, but if I don't know if I was going to come into South Dundas and maybe move here and I brought my family down for the day to go there and I walked down to the beach and I couldn't even get close to it, I might sort of say, ooh, maybe I don't want to move South Dundas because I can't even get, if I come down here, I'm not going to be able to use the beach. Nice beach, but I can't get into it. So, there's pros and cons to this, but I think depending on what the restrictions will be for this summer, I still think that if we're under some kind of restricted measures, I'm willing to, charge outside residents to utilize our beach. Might only be a temporary thing, but, you know, that's all, yeah. I haven't changed my mind too much about charging just for the beaches.
Okay, so council's direction is for staff to bring a report back on charging non-residents for our beach. South Dundas residents get a free pass and how we're gonna make that happen. So any questions from staff?
Nope, we'll bring something
Okay.
back in our next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Key information report on drainage maintenance and construction service and procurement. Danielle?
Thank you, Mayor. So this report is just like seeking a little bit more direction from council as to how they'd like to proceed with the procurement of drainage services. So in 2021, we utilized Macintosh Perry and we put together a like we just went out for an RFQ for drainage maintenance. So we only did 2 drains in 2020. We have a few more scheduled, as you can see in the KAR, for drainage for 2021. So we've come up with 3 options, and we've based these options on what other municipalities are currently doing. So we're looking for a little bit of feedback from council. So our first option is to develop a hired equipment listing specifically for drainage work. So there are some pros and cons to each option. So the pros for this option are we could select a contractor based on the equipment required. So for example, if a drain needed a specific size of shovel, we could select that shovel rather than having to shift through different contractors to look for that shovel. The hired equipment list is also, like our other hired equipment listing, would be good for 2 years. So that would save us having to go out every year. And then we can specifically request items that are relevant to drainage in that hired equipment listing. Some cons is that obviously there's no guarantee on contractor availability. So obviously if you're on a hired equipment list, you are supposed to be on call for the municipality. However, as contractors they get busy at certain periods of the year. So it doesn't guarantee that they'll not be busy. Sometimes this also is not competitive with regards to pricing. So they usually bid on an hourly rate. So sometimes this isn't as competitive because they're not guaranteed the work. So they will increase their prices to try and make some money off of that. And then the other issue, another con would be that we might need multiple contractors to complete one maintenance job. So that could get a little bit overwhelming for staff. Option 2 would be to develop a tender and release it in June and close it in July. And then for work to begin in August to December. So again, meeting that drainage maintenance window requirement. Some pros for that one is there's guaranteed contractor availability because they're bidding on the job. Another one is that the contract would be available for all the maintenance and construction work. So we wouldn't be having multiple contractors. Also, we think that with the release of an early tender with no maintenance requirement date, so meaning they could complete the work at any time between the drainage window, we feel like that we might get more competitive bidding, as some of the work can probably be done in November, December, when some of the contractors are winding down their work. And then it would also help with maintenance requests because we could build just based on the work associated for that specific drain. Some cons would be that any request that we get after the tender goes out would have to be re-tendered in 2022. And we would need to reissue a tender every single year. Option 3 would be to develop a list of contractors interested in drainage maintenance and procure services through a request for a quotation. So this is exactly what we did last year. So there's some pros for this. You can complete and accommodate last minute maintenance requests, and you can also change those requests as you go. And then you can develop an RFQ for each drain if you wish. That's what we did. And we did one for Ray Moorhead and we did one for Alt Monroe. Some cons. So this requires us to continue to update the contractor listing, which requires a lot of work, and sometimes we miss contractors, and as council knows, sometimes that results in some contractors feeling that we didn't offer them an appropriate opportunity to bid. Not all contractors will be able to bid the same way either, because not all contractors have access to the same equipment, so that leads to a little bit of issue when you're comparing contractor A and contractor B. And to be honest, it's not really as competitive. So staff are recommending that council consider using option 1 for just regular maintenance under $20,000, and that we utilize option 2 for any maintenance requests over $20,000 or construction. And once council provides further direction, if this is the way they choose to go, we would come back with a policy for procurement on drainage services. So I can answer any questions you have regarding the procurement.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. I'm going to go backwards this time. Councilor Mellon, you can start.
Thank you, Mayor Byvells. Yeah. I do like somewhat your recommendation utilizing option 1 and 2. If we're going to go out and, have a list of contractors, basically what I know some municipalities do, neighboring municipalities do, they have a list of contractors. I think it doesn't hurt to have contractors from within South Dundas maybe at the top of that list, but they have a list of contractors and they just go down the list, say, we got this drain, there's X number of yards of drain that has to be cleaned out. Are you available? And give them the time frame. They say no, you go down the next one, and you say yes. And when you find one that, yep, he's available, you go ahead and use them. And as far as getting multiple contractors on one drain, no. I mean, you get one contractor in. If it's that big of a drain, then it needs to be tendered. But the fact that for the larger drains, and anything I'm thinking under $20,000, utilizing option 1, I would bring that number down considerably. Personally, I'd cut it in half or maybe farther than that. And then maybe go with the option 1, and have a list of contractors and that you can contact. Make sure you have an up-to-date list, and have it valid for 2 years. If a contractor wants to get put onto that list, it's up to them, but it's on our website, because we can't be responsible for knowing any new contractors that come into the area or may want to take up the business. But have a list of contractors we can utilize for small jobs, like the 2 drains that you questioned. That were, they were relatively small. We put lots of drainage assessment schedules and payment schedules through. There were some that $5,000, $6,000, and I really don't think we need to be tendering those. Just have a list of contractors that are available, and we can go down through that list and get the ones that have the proper equipment and whatnot that can do the job. For the larger jobs, I do fully support utilizing the tendering process. I think it gives everybody a better opportunity to bid on the jobs, and and using option 1 for the smaller jobs. I think gives everybody a chance when you just go down through the list. I don't even think, going out for request for proposal or quotation, you have a list of contractors and what their hourly rate is, and that's how they do it in the north from here. And they just go down through that list and they just, can you do the job? Yep. If they're not busy, they go ahead and do the job. It's done quickly, it's quietly and efficiently. And that's how I would handle that. All for right now, Mayor Byvells. I'll comment later.
Okay. Councilor Lewis?
I think Danielle had her hand up.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Danielle.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just wanted to clarify with Councillor Mellon. So option 1 would be its own procurement process. So they would have to bid on an hourly rate. So we wouldn't just have a list of local contractors first and then outside contractors. We would release a procurement document, and then all contractors, local or from anywhere, would bid on an hourly rate, similar to how we do our hired equipment listing that Jeff issues every 2 years for example, tree trimming. There's roadside cutting. Those are all hired equipment. So just to clarify, it's not just a general list. They would have to bid to be on that list, and we would take the top 3, I believe, and that would be the list that we would use throughout the 2 years. I just wanted to provide a little bit of clarity there.
Council Mellon, anything further?
Well, that's all fine and dandy, but I know, it works very good in the north, and they just literally go down, they have a list and they go down that list, and if a contractor can do it, you know, they have the contractor's name, what equipment they got, what experience they got, what their hourly rate is, and, you know, somebody's gonna say, oh, yeah, you know, that contractor, you know, I got a drain done that was, you know, the contractor was $20 an hour more than you did, but a lot of it is based on the quality of operators and how quick they can do the work. So I don't think it should be totally looked at that way. And I don't really, your way of looking at it, Danielle, might be all right, but to me, I just have a list of contractors, especially for these small jobs. They get done so much quicker, you know, and availability would be, you know, I would have a list of contractors and just pick the phone up and say, can you do it? And if not, okay, we go down to the next one and so forth and so on. And everybody gets a free chance at it. Everybody gets a chance at it. You don't, you know, you're not, you know, giving it to all one person, or one person's getting all the work, if you will. You know, it's spread out, and you can just evaluate the job as you go and see if you get good value for your money. You'd only, you know, if you're getting raked over the coals, if, you know, if you will, you don't, not happy with the job, or you think it's paid too much, that contractor can be contacted and say, thank you very much, but fine. But, and they'll know that. They know that. They don't screw around, these contractors, because they know what the deal is and how it works. And it's, they hand in their hourly rate at the end of the drain, you know, it's a 2-day job. They hand in, there's your bill, you know, and they get paid and we drive on. So that's how I would do the smaller ones. The bigger ones, I would still tender out.
Okay, so it sounds like you want a more like what you would have at home for a list of wherever. Challenges for us is not quite as simple, and I understand where you're coming from, but I can also understand where staff's coming from on this too, because we're used to another way of doing things. So I will move on, and we can come back and see where we go. Councillor Lewis.
Well, after listening to the drainage expert, which I am not, I do have to agree with what Councillor Mellon said. It would be nice if we had a list of contractors that do these jobs, and it don't take very long to pick out where you're going to get the bang for your buck. If one of these contractors come in, they fleece us, well, we know not to ask them again. So I love the idea of having a list of contractors. I don't think we need 20 contractors, but if we had, for the small jobs, if we had a list of maybe 5 or 7, if that's possible. And I do like your option 1 too, Danielle, but I think I have to agree with Councillor Mellon on this one. Thank you.
Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, unfortunately, I can't agree with my colleagues. I'm looking at a business point of this again. I agree with Danielle. Like when we go out, and I agree with Councillor Mellon too, as far as the list. But in all fairness, when it comes to a municipality, I like the list, but we have to. You put your list of 1, 2, 3, like Danielle alluded to. You start with them, you go down. If John can't do it, Bill can't do it, Jane can't do it, go to Sam. Keep going down your list. But I think you have to go out for the RFQ, get 3 that's there that you would ask first. Then the other list, if there's 4 or 5 or 6 people, that they're still on the list. They're not going anywhere, Councillor Mellon. They're on the list, but you can't just basically say, well, okay, you started there, and okay, staff has X, and well, oh geez, I forgot John there. I skipped to Dean or whatever. Just as a business and a municipality, I think that's the route we have to take. It is a list in general, but you start with our procurement and everything, and we have our first three. And if there's 6 or 7, you just keep going down the list for the jobs under 20,000. I like the option, the way you put it together, Danielle, as far as the under 20,000, 25,000, utilize, get it done with recurring services. And I agree with Councilor Mellon, anything over that, like it definitely has to go out for tender once you get into the bigger projects. But I think as a municipality, we can have our list and have everyone on there, but we have to go with the RFQ to get the first 3. And if they can't, the companies behind them or whatever, they still get a chance. Like, but we did our due diligence by taking that route. So that's the way I want it. I would go out for the rates, go down the 1, 2, 3, do the option 1, 2. I'm fully with that, and move on. Thank you.
And Mayor Gardner.
Thanks, Mayor Byvelds. Having listened to everyone, and yes, we do have some drainage experts on council. I'm going through and I've listened to what everyone said, and I am comfortable what staff are recommending, the combo of 1 and 2.
Okay. So, I actually agree with Councilor Wells and staff. I think that option 1, looking at maintenance requests under 20,000, and have a list that's generated by a fair method of coming up with that list, with price, equipment, the whole 9 yards. It's still got to be watched. I won't disagree. And one operator with a small hoe can do sometimes more than a poor operator with a big hoe. So got to keep all that in mind. And that's a learning experience from our staff point of view. Like, we know a lot of the contractors and how things are operated, but they're going to learn that, and there will be lessons to be learned. But in the end, after a number of years, they'll have that figured out. Jobs over 20 grand for sure have to be tendered, and I'm certainly I think I like the timelines. If tenders come back and we only have 1, then council can look at other options, and maybe going that option would be going back to our recurring services and asking somebody on that list, say, you're interested in this job by the hour and this is what we want to go. So some flexibility is probably going to be what we want. We have to keep in mind that, these aren't necessarily tax dollars from South Dundas as much as it is dollars coming out of landowners. In the end, they will have to pay the bill. So in theory, we could not really care what it costs because they're paying, but I think we all care about everybody else's money as much as our own. And we want to make sure that the jobs are A, done right, and B, done in a manner that is still competitive and cost effective. And I know that some of us, like Councilor Mellon and myself, are a bit challenged with the old days where we did have one contractor did probably 90% of the drains and they were all done fair, square, and done right. We're not in that era anymore, and we have to understand that. And I think our landowners have to understand that too, that good operators cost money. New equipment costs money, and a lot of them are running newer equipment. And in the end, we got to get the job done. And I like what staff presented. I think we can make that work. I do like the dollar limits proposed as well. So, Councilor Mellon, further thoughts?
Well, yeah, I guess I should clarify. When I said we have a list, I still believe that, the list has to be submitted to South Dundas. And it has to meet certain criteria, for proper equipment, proper qualifications, insurance and whatnot. Have that list. That's the list I'm talking about, of contractors. And you go down that list. You start at the top one and you go down, and he said that, contractor said, no, I'm booked solid. I can't do the job. So you go to the next one and the next one. You can go out for the request for proposal if you want, but I would just have that list that you could work off of. And that list has to, and they have to submit their name and whatnot. And that's what I'm, the list I'm talking about. Your options are good. I'll give you that. But if I'm not in favor of, just blindly saying, yeah, the name, and I'm not sure, Danielle, if this is what you mean, that the name on the top of that list, with the best hourly rate gets all the small jobs. Are we going to go down through that list? Because you're going to have some contractors that are going to charge more. You're going to get better, you're going to get more bang for your buck. That's the list I'm going down through. Yep.
Okay. So I understand where you're coming from, Councilor Mellon. I'll let Danielle respond. I think you're sort of right. We still have to have some sort of way of making it competitive, and how do you do that? And I think having reoccur services list like Councilor Wells and I have alluded to and staff gives us at least something. Because you're right, we can see how many ton the shovel is, we can figure out how many dollars it is. If we certainly can ask for references to make sure that that company knows what they're doing, and they're not just somebody who went and bought a hoe yesterday at an auction sale and we're gonna try to make $1 off somebody and not really know what we're doing. So Danielle.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So to clarify, Councillor Mellon, so that's exactly what the mayor was just alluding to, is how we would do it. So for our procurement policy, we do have to have a competitive process. Unfortunately, just a list of contractors, there would be issues with that if I called one contractor and not another, or I constantly used one contractor over another, and we'd get into a little bit of a gray area where municipalities are supposed to follow their procurement policy, which council passed earlier this year. So by doing a reoccurring services listing like we have for all of our parks and recreation and our public works, what we would be doing is, as Councillor Wells alluded to, we would have more than just three bidders. There might be 8 for one, but we would start with the cheapest option and work our way down, because sometimes the people who bid the cheapest aren't available, or their equipment is out of service, or their equipment actually just can't do the job. And as the mayor also alluded to, we can, as part of the procurement process, ask for references on specific types of equipment. So if we want to have a listing where we have a shovel operator that needs to have someone on staff at least who has experience for the last 5 years or something like that, we can certainly incorporate that into the reoccurring services list. We already do have that for some of our other reoccurring services, so we would structure it very similarly to how our other reoccurring services are laid out.
All right. This is going to be a blind sight better than what we have got, but so I'm willing to give this a try, see how it works. I've got a reservation on that, but on especially the option 1, but I'm willing to see where it goes. And the main thing we want to get done here is get drainage work done as quickly, quietly and efficiently as we can. And I like the fact that we're going to get the tendering out in June and, close in July. I think that'll make all the difference in the world, but we'll give her a whirl. I'll go along with it to see how it works.
Councilor Lewis, anything further?
No, I'll go along with staff.
Councilor Wells, anything further?
No, Mayor, I'm good.
The mayor?
I'm good, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, so Danielle, let's go with option 1 and 2. We will, I think Councilor Mellon has some good reservations and see how it goes. I do have some challenges always picking the same person, and because I'll guarantee that if that same person lands up being a good contractor and he doesn't reside here, we're gonna have the phone ringing here, and we can't share it around as easy as we like. But we do have a good stable of contractors within South Dundas and further about, so we should be able to come up with something and bring it back to council. And then if the list doesn't look good, we can have another debate. Okay. Next, key information reports on beaver control and dam management plan. Danielle?
Thank you, Mayor. So keeping in line with drainage, this is a report that Council requested in 2020 to look at how we would approach controlling beavers and managing dams that happen on different types of property. So I have looked at a lot of local municipalities actually don't have beaver control and dam management policy. So I had to look outside the box and kind of look in northern United States. They seem to have more policies than our Ontario municipalities do. So some of the things they kind of looked at and some of the things I tried to reflect in our plan is how to, one, control beavers and dams on municipal property. So that would include roadside ditching, culverts, bridges, etc. And then also looking at options for private property and how we could assist our residents if they're having beaver issues on private property. So for example, if a farmer's having an issue with a beaver on private land that isn't owned by the municipality and isn't a municipal drain, how we could help with that. And then the third is helping residents with beavers on municipal drains and natural water courses. So water courses that run through private property are not the municipality's jurisdiction. However, because they're designated as a natural water course, they do have a series of requirements that need to be dealt with prior to the removal and control of beavers. So because of that, we could offer some assistance to our residents with that. So council will see in the report there is a kind of like a chart that we're hoping that provides our residents and our landowners with a little bit more information on how we're looking to control beavers and their dams in South Dundas. And I'm just looking for a little bit of feedback from council on that structure. Again, so private property is the landowner's responsibility. We have some protective measures and then what they can do with regards to trapping and dealing with the beaver. We also have some municipal property. We have information about the county as well. So if it's on county property, contact information, provincial highway, which is the 401 or land along the 401, provincial parks and conservation authority land, again, contact information there, and then crown land, which also we provided information there. For budget implications, so really this plan wouldn't have any new budget implications to the municipality. So what we're looking at doing is if a property owner needs assistance on private property and needs us to help them, there is a form that council I did provide as part of the policy package that every individual would have to fill out as an application. And if the municipality had the manpower to review the application and sign off on it, we could provide our current reoccurring services list where we do have animal trapping. We could send our trapper out there. And then we could also review for some issues. So if it is a natural water course, we can provide the homeowner with more or the property owner with more information on how they have to follow up with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans and etc. So if anything's on private property, to be clear, it would be billed back to the property owner. It would not be the responsibility of the taxpayer. Whereas if it was in a municipal drain on a public right of way, in a ditch along the road or in a culvert and causing flooding, that would be on the municipality, which it currently already is, to resolve and pay for. So with myself and bylaw, we currently function to remove beavers and then the dams through our existing reoccurring services listing. If there's any questions or concerns, I can take them at this point. I'm just looking for a little bit of feedback on the policy and if council would like to see any changes.
Okay, Council Mellon.
Yeah, I sort of do believe that, anything on municipal drains, we look after. We get rid of on private property, that's a sort of a different, that's a whole new different ball game really, because it could open up a lot of issues that we don't want to get into and a lot of headaches. So as far as on private property, that it's not a municipal drain or whatever, we can offer them the information. We can offer services, if you will, sort of that's listed here, and see if they want to take us up on that. We can, put them in contact with contractors that are good at it, trappers that will take the beaver out, but it'd be at their expense. And as far as municipal drains and municipal property, roadways, whatever, culverts, whatever, I think, that would be billed back through the municipality, maybe back through the assessment schedules on drains and whatnot. So, and back, you know, we can use, you know, go back into the counties and, you know, that's to me the best way to do it. It makes it, to me, you know, the simplest and easiest way. And, you know, let's not make this real complicated. We could get into a whole mess if we start, you know, trying to look after beaver dams and beaver lodges and on, you know, private properties or private drains, so.
Council Lewis?
I have to agree with Councillor Mellon. I think, you know, if it's on private property and they want our help, we give them information, but they are 100%, they pay the bill. It does, I don't think the taxpayers should have to pick up somebody else's bill, especially if it's on private property. So, yeah, the report looks good. It seems simple. So, no, I'm happy with that, Danielle. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council Wells?
Thank you, Mayor. The report looks good, and I have to agree with my colleagues. Definitely offer help, and as far as going in and doing anything ourselves, we can maybe send reoccurring services to them. That is just between the landowner and the reoccurring service, or offer our number for the trapper. Yeah, so I'm leaning towards like everything's good. Just tread lightly with private property. Offer services, how to obtain a contractor or trapper. I'm fully with that, Danielle, and everything else. It was a good report. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Mayor. I appreciate the thoroughness of this report, Danielle. Lots of good information. I do agree with my colleagues, though. I think at this point, I'm comfortable with providing more of direction or as a resource than doing anything on private property. But yeah, I think we can tread lightly with this, as Councillor Mellon has said, but I think you've given us a lot of information, so maybe if treading lightly doesn't work, we can review. But I think for now, I think we're more of a connector with service than service provider.
Okay. I agree with the thoughts of anything that's on municipal structure that affects municipal infrastructure, whether it's on private or public lands, needs to be dealt with by the municipality, whether it's us or SDG. And I bring the county in because they could be caught in this someday too if the right beaver dams the hosic in the right spot. And any beaver dam within a municipal drain is part of our duty to maintenance on that drain. The vast majority probably can be taken care of for less than $1,000, but if costs are significantly high, perhaps putting it to the side, and if maintenance occurs on that drain within the next 5 years, you can charge that within the maintenance envelope. If not, then we as municipality can suck it up and deal with it. I don't really want to send $2 bills to every person on a drain, because if there's a beaver in the wrong spot, there can be a lot of people assessed a lot of little bits of money, and that's a lot of work. And it also brings back the challenge of updating assessment schedules just for a beaver dam, which makes no logical sense whatsoever. The ones on private property, though, I'm not even going to tread lightly. I would say I'd have an information fact sheet for them that suggests what they have to do. You can if the trappers we use are comfortable with their number being their contact info being let out to deal with private individuals, and that's fair game. And and then suggests how they're going to deal with the remnants. and how they're gonna do that right. I think that has to be a private concern. If we get into that and all of a sudden they don't want to pay the invoice and you got to put it on taxes and then you got to, I think you're just asking for trouble. It's nice to be nice, but I think that's going to be more headache than it's worth. I think let's deal with the ones we have to deal with. Pay for them on an annual budgeted basis. Big guys in municipal drains, set them aside, and as I said, if there's drainage work or that has to be done, could be enveloped in between. If not, then municipality will have to deal with it, because I don't want to sit on the books forever either. So that's the way I would look at it. Councilor Mellon, any further thoughts?
No, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I think this is the best way to handle it going forward. Yeah. So, no, I'm good.
Okay, Councilor Lewis,
No,
Councilor Wells, Deputy Mayor. Okay, so is that good? Anything further, Danielle? Okay. We'll come back to that. So we'll move on. Going back into the consent agenda, there was a petition from the Township of Stormont concerning vaccines. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor Byvelds. I just wanted to have a look at this. I know the COVID situation is progressing quite fast. It changes all the time. It's awesome to see that our numbers are coming down. But when I saw this resolution, I really would like to not stay silent. I think it's important for both the province and the federal government to kind of count in SD&G when we're doing the vaccine rollout. There was a lot of conversation at a special county council meeting with our MPP, and I felt that his explanation fell short as far as when we were talking about vaccine distribution and the equality of putting it per capita and all that fun stuff. So I'm looking for some support on this and supporting this resolution. I think that I don't want to stay silent. I think it's important. Every indicator is that the faster folks get vaccinated, the faster. And I know there's talks. Like I said, the situation is fluid. We might be sitting here tonight and get word tomorrow that there's a vaccine shipment. But I think it's important that Eastern Ontario is not forgotten, specifically South Dundas.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, you have a resolution to this for this?
Yes, sir.
And let's read that and then we'll put it on the table and we'll debate it.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, second by Councillor Lewis, that council support the Township of South Dundas resolution regarding the Eastern Ontario vaccine supply.
I thought it was South Stormont resolution.
What did I say?
South Dundas.
Oh, sorry. South Stormont, right. That the council support the Township of South Stormont resolution regarding the Eastern Ontario vaccine supply.
Okay, thank you. We've heard Deputy Mayor Gardner, Council Wells.
No, I fully support Deputy Mayor on this one. I agree, like, we gotta be heard too, so I have no issues with this. I'm on board. Thank you.
Council Lewis?
no, I have no problem supporting Deputy Mayor Gardner on this one.
Council Mellon?
Yes, I support Deputy Mayor Gardner and South Stormont resolution 100%. So, yes.
Okay. So I do support it in principle. However, I do default a bit more to the COVID task force that the province has in their back pocket. Well, as for advisors, however, they don't listen to them very well, where they're advising now that vaccines to hotspots may be where we need to go. So yes, we've been kind of not looked after very well, especially on the pharmacy end, and Dr. Paul agrees 110% on that. But the province may have to shift gears in how it's affecting some specific areas of Ontario. And I'm not going to name them. We all know the ones that are being really challenged, and you can see why in big cities. But in the end, we still need to get as much vaccines to our residents as what should be fair and possible, and we have been shortchanged somewhat. So I certainly will agree to the resolution with those caveats in mind. Anything further? If not, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for the support, and I understand your concerns. I'm not trying to override the scientists in their explanation. I think it's just important to be on the radar. I think that's with the variants and with the impact for some young people and that type of thing. I just I appreciate everyone's support, and at least we can just kind of raise our hand and say we're here whenever things are available and can be fairly distributed to the non-hotspots.
Well, and I know our local MPP certainly heard an earful the other night at the county council meeting that and you know Deputy Mayor Armstrong for North Dundas was quite vocal and rightly so. It seems that if you look at Ontario and look at the map of where the vaccines landed up, other than the hot spots, you really question when they say there's no political intent in how they got distributed. So politicians are politicians. They all need to get reelected. And if one of them can push more to get vaccines in their area than others, I guess all the power to them, except somebody has to do without, and that's not fair. Not fair at all. So my advice to the politicians is let the health professionals figure this one out and let them do their job, because all you guys do is get in trouble when you start picking and choosing what you want to do, as has been demonstrated in the last 2 weeks. And what happens is you lose your crowd. Premier's lost his crowd. You know, it doesn't. You know, I accept his apology. He did screw up. Only thing is he's lost his crowd. Like in theory, there shouldn't be any cars on the road compared to last year, and I don't think anybody's really taking it to heart as much as they should. You know, something that's hit a little closer to home than I like recently is that there was a 60-year-old farmer in North Dundas that passed away from COVID 3 weeks ago on Easter Sunday. Not sure how he got it. I hear stories, but I can't confirm them. But he, as much as he was 60 years old, he had a young family. His oldest was 20 and his youngest was 16 or so. So his wife is going to have to look after them and the farm going forward, and not a good thing. I'm 61, and it kind of hits you a little harder. 13-year-old died in Brampton. We really need to take this a lot more seriously than we have in the past. And yeah, we've been good. I'm not going to be critical of people of South Dundas. Where I don't know what the number was today because I didn't have a chance down to 2. So we're doing well. Keep up the good work. Keep that in mind. Don't try to contain yourself when you go out. I know it's not easy. All of us cheated as much as we can, but no gatherings, no birthday parties, no stuff like that. It's just we're asking for trouble and finding it easy, and I don't really think we need to do that. Yes, we are. You know, there are discussions of having a mass vaccine clinic in Morrisburg on May the 10th, and Austin and his staff are working on it. I want to make sure it's 100% before it goes, but they're planning on using the arena in Morrisburg to do so. It has some accessibility challenges, and that's what we're working through. So we're hoping to make it work. Dr. Paul did reach out to me, so hopefully we can make something like that happen. And if you get the chance, go do so, and get vaccinated, and not only protect yourself, protect everybody else best you can. Anything further? Seeing none, all heard in motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next one is in the consent agenda is the case summary for our complaint file. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor Bybel. This is something that I was interested in when I first got elected to, just how we deal with complaints from the public. I had a good conversation with Ethan today, just on what I was looking for. And so when I had sent out an email just kind of wanting an update, and I was wondering what this case summary was, and Ethan's kind of described it to me. I don't know if Ethan can maybe describe what we have in our package, and then I could comment, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, Ethan.
Sure, yeah, through you, Mayor Breveld. So what's in your package today is a case summary report year to date, and it was pulled earlier last week prior to the agenda coming out. So it's a timestamp in terms of how many complaints we've received thus far regarding the issues that are broken down on the sheet. To provide a little more context for council, staff have received 138 complaints as outlined on the sheet. To date, 117 have been resolved, with 21 outstanding right now. So I'll let Deputy Mayor Gardner just provide a little more context and discuss her concerns with the sheet, and then I can answer any questions from there.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor. So first off, what I'm looking for is actually I'm not looking for personal information. I'm not looking for staff names. I'm not looking for any of that. What I was looking for is just to see how our complaint system works. And a complaint system doesn't always mean that the complainant gets what they're complaining about. It doesn't mean that the resolution or the resolve means that the customer, in this case our residents, gets what they want. But what I was looking for was just kind of a breakdown of, if a resident has an issue in South Dundas, when they call, how is it triaged, what's the turnaround time for them to receive the information if they are unclear on what something is or is not, or when if a staff member has to intervene, say in bylaw or whatever, from start to finish, what the resolution is. My concern with the case summary is when I look at the numbers, it doesn't, it just, like, Ethan, are the numbers does the system just automatically register a complaint, or does the staff member have to enter the complaint into the system? Like, how does the collection of the complaint to start, how does that work?
Sure. Through you, Mayor Byveld. So just to give council a bit of background, staff are guided by two policies. Policy number 2-12, the customer service policy, which outlines their day-to-day interactions with staff or between staff and members of the public, as well as policy number 3-17, which is our customer feedback policy, which outlines how complaints are made, filed, and processed through the organization. So if a member of the public does have a complaint with either a service or a program that falls under the municipality's responsibility, staff are logging that complaint within the complaint system. From there, it's triaged and it's sent to the appropriate director depending on the complaint. So for instance, a garbage complaint would go to the Director of Environmental Services to resolve that complaint. Looking at our complaint system, I did a little bit of digging on our system, and it looks like majority of complaints are handled within the 24-hour range. And those are immediate complaints. Those are, my garbage didn't get picked up, and a staff response is issued in response to that. If they're not handled within the first 24 hours, it looks like they're handled within a week. So those are a bit more complex issues. Those are the ones that take a little bit of either staff research, staff time, or it's a busy week and it falls down on the work list. The pending requests, those really vary. Some can be seasonal. For instance, if staff doing winter maintenance tear someone's lawn, doing snow removal, those kind of complaints can't be dealt with in the winter. Those get passed on to the spring work sheets. So, that provides a little overview in terms of how complaints are received, triaged, and then sent out and responded to in a bit of time frame.
Okay, Mayor.
So just with this, so we received some, training throughout our time as councillors, and one of the suggestions was to have council look at the complaint system. The issue that I have with this is it's just numbers, and you're saying it's tabulated by staff, which is fair enough, but in my mind, and I don't want to give the impression that I'm trying to micromanage, because that's not it at all. I just was hoping for a broader overview where if somebody calls that their neighbor across the road is welding at 1 o'clock in the morning or doing whatever, we would be able to see exactly how that was dealt with and what the end result was. If somebody calls because they feel that you know, their land was chopped up, and this is not, and I want to be clear, this, I'm not commenting on staff or how I feel that staff are handling these complaints. What I'm kind of commenting on is just how we're capturing these complaints and how we're kind of triaging them, and how we can just kind of open the window at any given time and just see how our residents that have concerns are being dealt with. As we all know, we get a phone call and, you know, people will say, well, I called the office and I complained, but nothing was done. And I was just looking for something that was a little bit more than just capturing how many complaints, what the result was. And I've worked with, Ethan and I had this conversation, I've worked with complaint systems, and I was kind of surprised that municipal government didn't have something that was a little bit more, had more metrics to it. So that's just, I was surprised that this was the report that we were getting, and there's not anything that council can do with this report, because we can't pull and just randomly say, okay, so you had a, I don't know, yard sale signage complaint. I can't even believe that's in here, but you had a yard sale signage complaint. So what was the outcome? You know, how was the staff, how was the resident dealt with, and, you know, that type of thing. And it's not about saying yes all the time and somebody calls and complains and they get what they want. It's just, as you said, Ethan, it's putting the policies and the customer service in place. It's just double checking the customer service to just make sure that we're whatever. And, you know, if we've made a decision at this council table and say, like, we're getting, you know, say we have a new, I don't know, garbage landfill operator or something, like, say there's multiple complaints, how would we know based on these numbers? So that's, you know, that's just my interest, is just to see how we triage and how we deal with customer complaints, and having some follow-up just to make sure that the residents, it's an accountability piece similar to the GPS system, is what I'm saying, right? So.
Ethan, anything follow up?
Yeah, just to speak to the deputy mayor's point, the case summary you do have in front of you isn't all the data that we do collect and trace through the triage and through the completion and closing that ticket. Staff are entering details, and when it does get triaged, the attending staff member does have the opportunity to add notes, add case files, and more detail to the complaint through the resolved. So the metrics that you're getting currently on this sheet don't reflect what's actually visible within the system for staff to address those concerns and address those complaints. This is just a summary of the total cases. I do see your point, though, in terms of total cases. Where do we bridge that gap to the resolved portion of that? And I think just judging from the little bit of research I did in the system today, I could probably present a more holistic kind of view of where we come from, the initial complaint, and you can see them resolved without obviously providing personal information or details on the complaints that you're speaking to.
Yeah, this isn't a big brother situation. I'm not here to babysit anybody that's doing anything. What I am trying to do, though, is build confidence in our residents that when they call, we have a very thorough system in place. So if they call me and I say, have you called the staff member or the municipality or whatever, I myself know exactly what the steps are going to be taken, right? And it's building confidence and trust that if they're, because let's face it, government, you're never going to have these sheets where the number's 0. I can guarantee you. And that's not what I'm looking for. I don't care what the number of complaints are. I don't care. What I care about is the confidence in the system to our residents to be able to say that these are the steps that will be taken. And you're right, we do have policies, but we also now do have a complaint system. And I just want to see, you know, I just would like to see a little bit more.
Okay, Nicole, you came on.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. So obviously a lot of the complaints come through the bylaw department. and I do try and incorporate that in my monthly update. I will say that that's not very detailed because we can't take anonymous
Privacy.
complaints,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The one thing that we're trying to work through with the complaint system is the privacy issue, because it's kind of open between all departments and some stuff shouldn't be. So we're still trying to kind of deal with that. The other thing is we get a lot of calls which seem to go to council and don't come to staff. So we're getting a lot of, I called Nicole and she never called me back. In reality, no one called Nicole, because I keep a very detailed phone log and I can go back from today all the way back to June 17th, 2019, the day I started. It's just if council does get complaints, we would appreciate if they come forward to staff and address that. And I know some of you do that. Like I speak to most of you regularly in those complaints, and I do follow up with my staff. And if it's my file to deal with, I'll follow up with them directly. But I can see where you're coming from. We definitely need to work on I guess the presentation on how we can show residents that we're actually here for them and working towards getting the complaints dealt with.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, sorry, Mayor. Just the last comment. My comments today are not on my confidence level on whether or not things are getting resolved. It's more about a system that whenever a resident calls me, I can say, it's one of the reasons why people are given reference numbers when they call for a complaint. Okay. I'm assuming we probably don't have a reference number system, but I can tell you there's a reason why there's a reference number system, because in a situation where someone calls me to complain about something and I say, have you called the office? And they say, yes, I did. And I say, oh, did you get a reference number? And they say, no, then it's very clear that they haven't, so that's what I'm trying to establish is just, it's one thing to check a box and say we have a complaint system. It's a completely different kettle of fish if we check the box, but we have a fulsome, trustworthy, actual usable system that the staff can use as well. Because you guys, like you say, you can use it and say, well, no, like with your notes, I've talked to this person, and it becomes a tool for council. So I know it sounds like I'm criticizing. I'm actually not. I'm wanting to either within the existing system that we have, I want it either explained a little better so I can see the robustness of it, or have a look at it because maybe it's not working. That's what my thing. And like I said, that's why people get reference numbers. So there's that, whatever. So just my comments, Mayor. Thanks for entertaining my concerns.
Okay. Any comments, questions, concerns from any other member of council at this time? Councilor Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, listening to Deputy Mayor there, I was just coming down. You say reference number, I was going to say confirmation, because that is definitely, it's not going to reflect to a privacy issue or anything like that. I would definitely, if someone comes in, okay, there's your confirmation, or there's something that, and Cole, we get a lot of calls, you know that, and I've called you and you've always got back to me. Same with the rest of the staff. But I definitely like the idea about Deputy Mayor, some of her concerns. Myself, I would like a little more, it wouldn't have to be every council, but say every other council, that there's 168 complaints or whatever. Just have like a little thing in there in our consent agenda or whatever. Okay, this is reference number, this call, and said there was a dog crapping on my yard or something, or like just give us a thing that we actually see what the complaint was about. Then at the end of that, when you go through, if it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, then you go say reference number was resolved by this, just like a little detail. And And I think the deputy mayor would agree with that. It's at least we're seeing our systems working by having a little report like that. The reference number is definitely good because I don't know how many times I've called, like I've had people call me and say, a guy's out in the park, his dog's not on a leash. Well, did you call animal control? I don't, what do you want me to tell you? And 9 times out of 10, they always say they do. And like you alluded to, Nicole, probably 5 times out of 10, they haven't called. They just called us, figuring it's going to get done quicker. So, yeah, like I'm not going to go on too much about this. I think giving a number, I would like to see maybe once a month, every other council, that we have something in there explaining exactly what the complaint was about, how it was resolved, and then we just move on. We're happy, everyone's happy. Thank you.
Okay, Nicole?
Yep, I will let you know that the system that we do have, it's called a case number, so we do have that reference number. I'm not sure if staff have been providing that number to customers, but Ethan and I can definitely work on our procedures for staff and move forward with that for sure. And we'll look at how we present that to council as well without releasing private information. So our system is very detailed. It's just how do we as staff present that to council without releasing private information from the residents?
Okay, no, I agree. Like whether it's a number, whatever you want to call it, just as long as whoever's complaining gets that number. So if like Deputy Mayor said, if someone calls, well, you have your complaint number or whatever, at least we know there's no BS going on here. Like if you want us to help us, like don't lie to us. So it's like, there, you help this and we'll help this. So it's just, I think more attention has to be applied how we let them know that we're taking their information, and how council gets it in a package at the end of the day. I think as far as I'm concerned, it's something very easily that can be fixed. It's not where we have to make a big issue about every complaint. And again, like we're not micromanaging. It's just so we know that accountability is by us, by the people that's actually complaining, and by staff, if that makes sense. So anyways, that's I'm good. I think we're on the right track. It's just make things just a little more, like Deputy Mayor said, like just a little more visible that we're actually seeing the complaint. I don't care who complains, John or Jane or whoever. It's just that we know that number's out there. Well, file 1 it's been resolved. We can move on to the next complaint. Okay.
Okay, Ethan, you had your hand up there.
Yeah, Nicole spoke to the point with the reference numbers, so I will defer.
Okay, CEO?
No, nothing else I'll add. Just the one thing is we'll look at it internally to see what the capabilities are of our system, and ultimately if it's something that council feels we need to explore a little further, the software is not costing us a lot of money per year, so there's other options we can look at. It is finding something else different that will provide that information that council's looking for and that what our customers are looking for or our residents. So let us work on that for the next council meeting or so, and we'll bring it back and see if that's something that council's looking at.
Okay, you good, Deputy Mayor? Okay,
I
all
do-
council?
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to thank staff. I know this is a tricky conversation to have. My intent here is not to do anything other than provide a service to both the residents and the staff and to us, so we just are on top of things. That's all I'm looking for. So thank you.
Okay. Moving on, I added discussion item, it's more an information item. I did ask Danielle for information on the rollout. Council may or may not remember, we do have a new garbage contractor starting next Monday in South Dundas. My concern is that anything new always comes with headaches because that's just the way our world works. People have gotten used to the current contractor. They've gotten used to timing. So how did we let our residents know, and do we need to do anything else? Because I'm trying to avoid a lot of phone calls come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Danielle.
So thank you, Mayor. So I can speak to a few items. So we did have a communications plan for the garbage contract. So Kaylin, our communications officer, and myself sat down in February after council awarded the contract to the new contractor through bylaw. And we did look at some of the different ways we could communicate with our residents on the change. The last post that was shared on Facebook was on March 28th, and it did talk about the change in contractor and to make sure that you had your waste out by 7 a.m. So really there are, based on my discussion with the contractor, the only real change that residents should be seeing is that it's not going to be a tan and brown truck anymore. It will be a blue truck. The collection routes are staying fairly the same. They do vary though, and that happens with our current contractor too. If there's a breakdown, sometimes they have to do the route backwards or they have to go back and finish a route. I do have a meeting as well with the contractor on Thursday. So I hope to have a little bit more information with regards to how I'm going to be working with them for the first month through the contract to manage these complaints. They are an experienced contractor when it comes to collection, so I don't have any concerns with how collection complaints will be managed. Kaylin is also releasing another post on social media this week with a picture of the new garbage truck and recycling truck. So they are double streamed. So that means there's two compartments on the back of the garbage truck. One side's for recycling, one side's for garbage. So exactly the same as what we currently have with regards to contractor. So again, we'll be posting that information this week for our residents to let them know the change on Monday. But with regards to anything else, the real change that there shouldn't be any real change to our residents, and that was our goal with this service contract, is that our residents would have would face no impacts. However, we do have contingencies in place in case there are some issues. The contractor does have additional staff on for the first month in case there are some collection delays. So like I said, I'll have more details on Thursday when I sit down with them to go through the contract, but hopefully that provided enough information, and I can answer any other questions you may have.
Okay, well, one of my biggest concerns is timing. Like you say that they're going to use the same route, so technically maybe the timing is going to be close. Is that correct or incorrect?
No, that's correct. So we're hoping that because they're using the same collection routes, that it'll be similar timing. I cannot guarantee that. Miller Waste, for example, they're our current contractor, and sometimes they have to change their collection routes, and that's something that has always been an issue. And we were just talking about our complaint management system. That's something that our front staff use very heavily when that happens, and that's something that I follow up with and respond to resident complaints with frequently. So I'm hoping that there won't be a lot, but like I said, if there is changes to collection schedule, we do post that on our Facebook as well. Kaylin does a good job letting our residents know if garbage is going to be picked up late or if it'll have to be set out and we'll collect it the next morning. But I'm hoping there won't be any significant changes to collection times. But within the bylaw, we have from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. to pick up the garbage. And that's what Kaylin has been educating our residents about lately.
Okay. I don't disagree with everything you said. But in my mind, we needed to be very proactive in this communication because change this, if everything works out, I'll be the fool here saying I worried too much. But this hit me in Friday afternoon. I'm thinking, are people going to be ready? And the worst thing you can say to somebody sometimes is saying, well, the bylaw says 7 a.m. And the guy's going to say, he's never been here till noon. I never get in a hurry in the morning. So if you say, well, you should have seen it on our Facebook page or on our Twitter or Instagram, and they're going to look at you and say, I don't see that stuff. So as part of that communication strategy, we spend we spend a lot of money in leader, and I believe we should have had an ad this week in the paper, half a page saying change comes to South Dundas, new contractor. That way, at least you have that fallback to say, we tried our best. I would have had an insert in every, in our tax bills. We would have had, this is big. I want to have the contractor work out. If he follows all the same routes, perfect. But we all know that contractors look for efficiencies, because I would if I was them. Like, things change. It changed out north. I know that my son lives on Garlow, and it used to be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I came there this spring, and there he is at 10 o'clock in the morning. They changed. Well, everybody adjusts. But the first day is going to be a big adjust, because there you see the garbage truck go down the road, and my pile's still sitting in my kitchen. So I'd rather be a lot more proactive than reactive. If it works out, I will congratulate everybody in the whole world to deal with this. But I tend to look at the fear of, how do you deal with the people who phone that, we've all had calls. My garbage hasn't been picked up. Well, I said, well, it still has time. Yeah, but they're always here at 9 o'clock and it's 5 after 9. You've heard them. Not saying they're right or wrong, but I'm just trying to avoid headaches when we have a new contractor, and I want to make sure that they're successful and they run as efficiently as possible. We were talking about one side garbage. I think that went out the window, but we need to I just think we need to be a little bit more proactive in big steps in South Dundas. Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, I agree with you. People are creatures of habit. Our garbage used to be picked up around 4:30. Chuck could put it out when he got home from work. All of a sudden it switched, it's 10 o'clock. So, I mean, we learned, and I'm not saying that the change is bad and we should never change. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that even us who are on social media just still get whatever. And, I will say from personal experience and the folks that I've talked to, people are actually getting away from social media. So with the pandemic, especially, people just don't find it a great place to be and to spend a lot of time. And when I pulled up your original post, I think you said March 28th, it only had 60 shares. So even if your metrics, and I think that this maybe needs to be part of the discussion moving forward, is when we put all our weight on social media, then, if Kaylin can come to the table and say, okay, that 60 shares had so many page views, like she should be able to get all the stats. If that's under 2,000 people in a population of 10, like and you have people that just share to share, like, they might not even live in South Dundas. I just I hear what the mayor is saying, and garbage is extremely expensive, and we want to look like there's actually a plan and it's not last minute. And I think that's part of the problem. It's not so much the change, it's when people get the information last minute. And like I said, 60 shares on Facebook is not really a great communication plan. I think there should have been something else. And our senior folks, I don't know if we need to go old school and have bulletin boards around town, like municipal bulletin boards where we put information up, or the paper. We definitely have to find multiple ways of getting the word out, because the phone probably will be ringing off the hook, and there will be people that will assume maybe the truck broke down, we had to get someone else. Maybe they don't even know we've got a new contract. So communication goes a long way. And like I said, humans are creatures of habit. So, you got to see people in their bathrobe putting out the garbage at the curb. And if they, it changes, they get all upset. So I think it's a good concern that the mayor has brought forward, for sure.
Okay. Anyone else on council? CEO, you had your hand flying.
Yep, no, just as a follow-up, it's something that, we're definitely going to be discussing I do have it on the agenda tomorrow for a senior staff meeting, as far as looking at other ways that we can be getting the message out on social media. So, you know, we need to find other avenues as far as newspapers or bulletin boards or something that we can get those messages out. So we will be having that further discussion as a group tomorrow and coming up with some different ways that we can be more proactive in our communication moving forward.
Okay, so Danielle, I do hope everything goes well next week, but you could be busy. And, you know, I think of the people that aren't on social media and how do they know? And, you know, actually we can make it a positive thing, because the new contractor is going to have new trucks, less breakdowns. There's lots of pros here. It's just people aren't used to change. They're just creatures of habit, and they, as you know, when you listen to the phone at times for a call that doesn't make any logical sense, it's just the way we as humans are think and built and everything else. So let's see how it goes. We'll go from there. Anything further from you? Okay. Thank you for that. Any noses a motion tonight, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay, so we do have closed session tonight. So before we go and read the motion, I will thank council for their work so far. I'd like to thank all of council staff for their work tonight and their reports. I'd like to thank the audience for participating. We will be going to closed session, and once we come out of closed session, the ratification by law and adjournment will be the only procedures left. So with that, we will bid you good night. Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Wells, that council proceed in camera pursuant to section 239 2B and 3B of the Municipal Act 2001, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and a request under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act of the Council Board Commissioner.
Okay, all heard the motion. Those in,
Sorry.
all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Okay, thank you very much.